Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Camp Hustle One here, back with another live stream. How you guys doing? Back with another one. Here we go. Let me make sure I got everything set up here, everything in its right place. Make sure we don't have any mistakes here. Hello, hello. Welcome back. So, Coke Benny, welcome back to the stream, dude. How are you, man? Let's do this. Yeah, man. It's been kind of a week for Mr. Shannon Sharpe here, and I do plan on going through all of the case, and also there was also a request for me to cover Myron Gaines talking to the South Carolina campus, I believe, and just whatever went on with that. But for now, we're going to start with the first one, the first story here. So let's jump right into it. Oh, and I guess just for anybody finding me for the first time, my name is Camp Hustle One. This is what I do. I do commentary, and I don't know if anybody watched the last video I did on the Blue Origin launch. That got me a lot of haters. If you guys haven't seen, I mean, I know I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but um, I enjoy it. I enjoy any type of criticism that I get. I'm a big boy, so I can handle it. Um, but I appreciate all of the engagement. I guess I'll just leave it at that. I appreciate the engagement, and I appreciate everybody that came out to watch that last video. It was probably my most hated video, and for whatever reason, I still don't know why. It probably got the most thumbs down ever, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, you can't appeal to everybody, and in terms of like appearance, I didn't meet a lot of people's appearance standards, and my voice apparently annoyed some people. And I mean, I'm just trying to be myself, man. And if I don't tickle your fancy, I guess it is what it is. Exo Charles, welcome back to the stream. Hello, everybody. This week had some interesting drama. It absolutely did. Um, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the first story, and this is Mr. Shannon Sharpe. He's doing. Oh wait, really, Coke Man? You definitely just need to open it up on like another tab or just check it out or something. It was pretty bad. You know what? And I feel like I held my own. I'm not gonna give any haters any airtime, but I will say that anybody that wanted to come at me with any type of criticism, like even if it was playful, I was playful back. And you know me, guys, I'm a redditor at heart. So if you have something to say, I typically have something to say back. And yeah, it went back. We had probably about 90. I'm not even exaggerating. Probably 97 comments on the last live stream, and it was majority hate. So a good read, a good read. But yeah, so the first video is going to be Shannon Sharpe and his audio that was released, and this was going to, I guess, be the introduction that we're going to start with. We want to see what was leaked, and then how they're going to backtrack on the strategy. Because right now, what it's looking like is Shannon Sharpe wants to win in the court of opinion, public opinion, by releasing this stuff. And he's all about being honest, all about facts. So he's going to put out his information that he has, as well as text messages as well, to kind of clear his name. Because how these things go, typically a celebrity will get accused, and if they keep themselves quiet and they go to the court, then it's a chance to dispense evidence that way. But Shannon Sharpe has taken a completely different approach. He's been a complete open book about this, maybe even against his lawyer's advice, maybe, because I think originally Tony Busby, the lawyer that is representing the plaintiff, she originally filed the suit as a Jane Doe, and Shannon Sharpe's team wanted to just go ahead and blow the whole lid off of that and name her name. And we're not really bound to anybody, so we can go ahead and name her name as well. Her name is Gabrielle Zuniga, and we have her Instagram and everything. And apparently she's an OnlyFans chick, and yeah, she's seeking $50 million because of an alleged grape allegation. And they had a relationship for about 2 years, and I guess In the last week or so, Shannon Sharpe was approached with a $100 million deal for his Club Shay Shay program. And before that deal could go through, he gets hit with this allegation. And I think, yes, he wanted to settle out of court with Miss Gabrielle Zuniga, and he was going to give her $10 million, which, he felt like that would have been a good way to make this whole thing go away. And I guess she caught wind of the $100 million deal that he was about to get, and she's like, you know what? I want half of that. So, hey, women are going to be greedy. I mean, it is what it is. But let's listen to this first clip here.
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
What does that even mean?
Nothing yet. You want to be a dick to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you said that one more time.
Now, just listening to this, I get a little bit of like Daisy and Fresh vibes from it, because you remember how Daisy recorded Fresh, and she was using the type of language to try to get him to say stuff, to get him to incriminate. And I'm kind of getting the same vibe here. What she's doing is, she's using the word manipulation. She's trying to get him maybe to get angry and stuff, and maybe show like a violent side, but it's very subtle. And for her to have such a contention with this guy, she seems pretty calm. Maybe she smokes weed. I don't know.
I'm gonna fucking choke the shit out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do.
And apparently in their relationship, they were very, I guess, very explicit. I mean, she does OnlyFans, so a lot of fantasy play and choking, dog collars, BDSM, all of that. And Shannon Sharpe was into that with her. And yeah, I guess now she can say, oh no, I guess this one time that they did it, it was the situation where he wanted to go in the back door and he didn't want to wear protection. And she specifically told him to wear a condom, but I guess he was just like, nah, we ain't doing that. And he ended up going ahead and doing his thing. And I guess what the lawyer said in the document was that she was crying, she was telling him to stop, but he just wouldn't stop. And that was basically what spawned this whole thing. So Cook Benny came back, he says, but with no stutter this time. Yeah, there is no stutter. Yeah. I will say that this is even though the characters are different, I would say the situation is still the same in terms of like trying to finesse someone. Like, this is a huge amount of money this guy is about to come into, and she saw an opportunity to just, if she can't get all of it, she can aim for half and then, settle for whatever she can get. So I think that's pretty much the end of this clip. I have another one lined up, so there's a second audio that came after this.
I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
So what that whole clip is basically being aimed at Shannon Sharpe is that he was violent towards her. He threatened to choke her even in public and stuff. And then he also exerted some dominance over her, saying that she had no choice in the matter of, whether she can be choked out or not. So let's go back here. So I have the next one, and I believe Tony Busby, this is the lawyer, he revealed this, and it still says Jane Doe, even though, the name has been revealed by Shannon Sharpe's team. But this is the second audio.
Well, I don't know why you want to go out.
Don't worry about it, Gabby.
Well, okay.
Okay, what?
Well, I'm not really interested in getting choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah.
She's got a very nonchalant attitude. I don't know if she's like completely blazed on this call right now, or if she normally talks this slow. I did hear online a lot of people were like, she's acting still very sultry towards him, or that she's really like this slow. Like somebody said that she put on the retard voice where she just like, like drooling slow as she's talking. But I think this is all a tactic as well, just to get him to talk.
I might choke you in public. Big black guy chokes small white woman.
You're coming to
So, I mean, if they've been together for 2 years now, I also forgot to mention, at the time that they were dating, because I believe she's 20 now. At the time that he met her in a gym, and she was 19, and at the time he was 56. So that's about a 36 age difference there, 36-year age difference. A lot of people are saying online that he should have never been messing around, with a girl this young. Especially I guess after he found out that she was doing OnlyFans and everything, that was like that should have been a huge red flag, to maybe find somebody a little bit more sensible, and some people are even saying, hey, you need to date a little bit older, which, he did say on another podcast that, hey, I forget this date my age, I'm going to date my wage, and um in the end, it's not illegal, she is a legal adult, so um you can't really, I mean, nobody's really like, oh, I guess people that are looking on the legal side of things are like, okay, we can't really go after him for that. Some people are looking at it as grooming. I don't, I'm just like, well, I'm actually in the position that I think he didn't, I don't think he is guilty. I think that he's actually in a position where the woman is retracting her consent, which, we've seen this many times with many different celebrities. And now the situation is just money driven. That's all it is. And she selected this lawyer that, went after Jay-Z for similar things, for similar allegations. And I believe the lawyer lost to Jay-Z because Jay-Z ended up countersuing from defamation. And I mean, it was, he had a really bad name for himself, and he's also, I believe, Tony Busby. He also represented, I think, a couple of the girls that were coming forward in the Diddy case as well. So I don't know. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, man. This lawyer here, he's kind of have a little bit of reputation of going after people and taking on cases and trying to get big money, which but so as far as the case, people saying, oh, well, if Shannon Sharpe is innocent here, why would he offer this OnlyFans girl $10 million to settle out and not take it to court? Isn't that kind of an admission of guilt? In my opinion, I would think that he doesn't want to go to court. It's all it is. It's just like something to expedite. He's like, I just want to wipe my hands clean of this. I don't even want to have to take time off from work, whatever. I just want this to go away. And if money will make her go away, then I'll do it. But it just didn't work. The 10 million was not enough. And so now she's trying to take half of his contract deal, which unfortunately that contract deal has now fallen through. As far as Shannon Sharpe with ESPN, he has said that he's going to step down, but I believe that ESPN basically told him that he needs to step down because they're owned by Disney and they don't want to be tied with all of this adult stuff. It's just not a good look for their investors, and it makes sense from a business standpoint that they don't want this guy on air while all of this controversy is surrounding him. So But yeah, $50 million. It's a civil case, not a criminal case. You gotta kind of look at things like, okay, if this was really a real thing, do you think that she would be suing for this much money? You know, if she, wouldn't she just be more concerned of putting Shannon Sharpe in jail for what he did? But it just doesn't seem that way. It seems like a money play, just for the sheer amount that we're talking about here. So it I don't know. There's a lot of red flags here, and I mean, just to give you guys like a rough look at what we're talking about here. This is Gabrielle Zuniga. This is the girl that's in question here. Um, kind of, I mean, I don't know. What would you guys rate her on a scale of like 1 to 10? She's kind of basic, in my opinion. You know, she's like a 3, 4 in the face. I mean, yeah, she works out, that's fine and stuff, but it's not like anything crazy in my opinion. I mean, this is how he met her. He met her looking like this in the gym. And I guess he was just like, yeah, that's it, This is why I'm willing to risk it all. And yeah, it's crazy, man. I don't know, man. I mean, I think you can put makeup on anybody and they can be like a 6 or 7, whatever, but maybe even an 8. But I don't think that she's not worth $50 million. No, sir. This is a well, at the time she was 19, but this is a 20-year-old girl who's trying to, basically have her whole life set up. I don't know, man. Coke Benny says, I'll be generous. I'll give her a 6. 6 is right there, right above average, Just I don't know, man. But I mean, I think when you take an account, if like in terms of like, okay, would you date this girl now knowing that she does OnlyFans? That drops her down like 2 points. So that's already, I mean, at least in my book, that may not be for other people. Some guys actually, which is crazy, don't care that their girl does OnlyFans. But that's a no, But I don't know, man. He was willing to risk it all for this one. I mean, what does Myron always say? He's like, yeah, if she's got bikini pictures and stuff like that, man, she's for the streets. And I mean, I would have to agree. But I guess I don't know. I guess when you're in that certain tier of success, you don't care what comes with it. You're just going for the look, and you know, and Shannon Sharpe, he's going for that fresh water, man. He's like, I want something that doesn't have a lot of miles on it. You know, maybe she just does this, and she doesn't actually like sleep around, but she just puts her body out there. I don't know, man. It's like I still think it's a good decision to maybe like vet somebody first and see how they are. I mean, yeah, it's a good thing that they met on the fact that they were both working out. They care about their health and stuff, but there's a lot more to it, you know. So I don't know. You give her a 6. I would probably say she's right there at average, man, in terms of like the face. Because I mean, I think you gotta have to like excuse the whole. I mean, yeah, the fact that she's healthy, that's good. That puts her at at average. I mean, you should be taking care of yourself. But then like to be in that next tier of like 8, 9, it's, I mean, I don't think anybody's a 10, but like to be in that upper tier, I think you need to be offering a little bit more. And I mean, she just looks like a girl you see in the mall, man. Like nothing, dude. This is nothing, in my opinion. And I don't know, man. Not worth throwing your whole life away. I'll tell you that much. But so let's go back. I have the next one here. It's gonna be under it's under watch later that I have. Because there were a few videos that I went over, and there was this one that I wanted to talk about because I believe ESPN, yeah, they officially they say he's fired from ESPN, but the whole angle is that he is stepping away from ESPN, and he also made a statement that he's going to come back when football starts up. So let's check this one out. Let's go back here.
Listen, I might tell you a story, but I never tell you guys a lie. If I report it on here, it's because I'm coming with facts.
Oh, wait, hold on. This needs to be a little bit further up. Hold on, not this one. This was the wrong one. Wrong video, sorry. It is this one here.
And the fact that an upstanding and righteous gentleman like yourself is in that position with the only thing trying to be righteous in our lane is just more machinations of the devil. You should have a much better backstory when you.
Did anybody here see that Cat Williams interview on Club Shay Shay? I mean, it was probably the most popular one that Shannon Sharpe had. That was the interview where Cat Williams said that 2024 was going to be the year everybody gets exposed, and it seems that it's carrying over into 2025. Man, it's just, it hasn't stopped. And yeah, I mean, it just seems like in Hollywood it's kind of like a hush hush thing, you know, because everybody has money out there. They can just pay these people off to make them go away. But this isn't the first time Shannon Sharpe has been accused of SA. This is actually, it happened, I believe, again with a woman about 2 years prior to this, and I believe she was paid off. So, but that's the thing. It happens with a lot of celebrities. I mean, it happened with Bill Cosby, all those women that came forward, and it happens, and especially with like football players, basketball players. It's just kind of comes with the game, man.
You pick me as an opponent.
You know what, man? I'm glad you at least addressed it. Because
Cat Williams and Shannon Sharpe, they had a falling out shortly after that interview, that viral interview that they had, and for whatever reason, Cat Williams was, he's kind of the guy he's like, look, I know the truth, and I'm gonna say it whether it's PC or not. I'm just gonna say it and put it out there, and that's kind of how the video went so viral, is because he just told it like it was. And there was a lot of backlash that Cat Williams got from a lot of celebrities after that, because he was putting all of their business out in Front Street. They didn't like that too much.
When you talk to him and tell him what the truth is, he won't be able to refute it. I told you earlier, he doesn't know this. How could he know?
Has a new target in his sights. NFL legend Shannon Sharpe. A brand new lawsuit was just filed in Nevada claiming Sharpe was manipulative and eventually a Jane Doe, with the latest claims allegedly happening as recently as January. We got our hands on the filing, and we're going to break down everything.
To make him feel better about himself when he come home at night. That's what Shannon needs. You don't need no...
I forgot about this. So Monique went on Club Shay Shay, and she confronted Shannon Sharpe about his, I guess, snow bunny obsession and young woman obsession. And this is what she said to him.
26-year-old girl. You don't need no 36-year-old girl. I do. This is your auntie talking to you. Take your old ass and get you an old up there that can love you old. You're trying to hang out with these young and you can't do it, Shannon. You just can't do it. When they want you to go for the 4th round, you looking at her. Listen, you want some money to go to Starbucks? Yeah.
Y'all, Cat Williams just confirmed the SA allegation against Shannon Sharpe, and the internet is losing its ever-loving mind. Shannon Sharpe has been fighting for his life these past couple of days, and y'all can bet that Cat's comments are about to make things 10 times worse.
Cook Manny says, every time I hear Cat talk, all I hear is a pimp named Slickback. Dude, Cat Williams, man, I've seen all of his comedy stand-ups, and also the movies that he was in and stuff, and dude, he really is, man, he really is a pimp to the 10th degree. And it's just, he's just so iconic in that role. I can't really see him as anything else. Maybe a pastor, but I can't see him as anything short of a pimp.
For him. Now, Shannon got sued a couple days ago by a woman that claimed that he allegedly SA'd and put hands on her while they were dating. And it looks like this might just be the start of Shannon's downfall. Now, Shannon has been trying to fight the lawsuit, but it's not looking good for him. It also isn't helping that Cat Williams has that big I told you so energy, declaring support against Shannon. And it also looks like he's threatening to spill some spicy tea on Shannon, and y'all know that it's going to get crazy. So let's get into it, y'all. No, y'all, Cat Williams is enjoying Shannon Sharpe's current legal mess, and he isn't even trying to hide it at this point. There have been rumors of some sort of beef going on between Shannon and Cat for a while now, at least ever since the interview. At least ever since that infamous interview on Club Shay Shay.
That's the one I was talking about. He was talking about every person getting exposed. I think even like, I remember he was talking about Will Smith and all of that going down, and then just how a lot of these black guys, they get white girls, and then it always goes wrong, and it was funny because he was saying all this stuff, and it was, I think Shannon Sharpe, he has like a history of dating like younger white women, so it was funny.
And he's not even trying to hide it at this point. And it's kind of shocking because their interview broke records for the most watched video podcast on YouTube. Given all that, you'd think that they'd be on good terms, right? Well, they're not, which explains why Cat is enjoying Shannon's downfall. Word in the streets is that Cat has allegedly been telling people that Shannon has always had a weird vibe to him, and he suspected all that while he was on Club Shay Shay. It kind of sounds like Cat believes that there might have been some truth to the allegations against Shannon, which is insane considering how messy these allegations are. So what exactly are these allegations about, and what does Cat think is absolutely true? Well, the lawsuit was brought by a woman named Gabriella Zuniga, who claims that she was 19 when she started messing around with Shannon in 2023, which means he was 54 at the time. Right off the bat, this is not looking good for Shannon, because what was unthinking, getting involved with a teenager? For context, his youngest child would have been about 29 or 30 at the time, which means that he was messing around with a woman 10 or 11 years younger than his youngest child. I know it's all legal and Gabriella was technically an adult, but it's still very much grooming and weird. But anyways, Gabriella made a lot of claims.
See what I mean? People are just calling it grooming and stuff, but it's like, it was consensual at the end of the day. So in my eyes, I'm not gonna fault him for that. I just think it's a little weird, like if you are going to engage as a 56-year-old with a 19-year-old, I gotta be very careful of what I'm about to say here, is that you need to know what the relationship is for what it is. Like it can't be anything serious, because you have to understand that the woman is coming from a point of, okay, you're famous, you have millions of dollars, I like that. And that is why she's messing with you. Otherwise, if you were just this 56-year-old guy that, was still in good shape, whatever, but wasn't famous, she probably wouldn't have looked your way. Let's just be real. Now, I do believe in the court documents, there is a little bit of a contradiction on the Tony Busby side, because he claims that she did not know who he was when she encountered him in the gym when they first met. That does make sense. But you know how girls, once they meet somebody, they know their name and stuff. They're going to go online and they're going to start looking them up and stuff. They're going to Google their name. And then I'm sure so many results came back, and from that point on, she was tuned in. She knew what he was, and then they dated for 2 years. So yeah, all of that stuff that was happening to him in terms of like his success and everything, and then his deals, I'm sure she was in tune with all of that. So she knew when to strike when the iron was hot, and she's like, look, and she also, recording some conversations illegally, not letting him know about it, because they had this fiery, relationship. They could, she could use all that stuff for later. So it just seems like, yeah, she was playing her part, and then when she knew that, oh, there's this big windfall of money about to come his way, now is the time I need to say, oh, he assaulted me when I didn't want it and everything, and she lawyers up and everything. Now she's going to try to get the money, but I don't think it's going to work. I really don't. because it's too obvious that this is a money play, and even though she consented to all of it.
Claims in her lawsuit that were very shocking. First off, she filed the lawsuit as Jane Doe because she wanted to keep her identity private. The only reason we know her real name is that Shannon and his lawyers directly named her in their statements. There's gotta be something wrong with that too, but in her lawsuit, she accused Shannon of manipulating and controlling her and alleges that he S8 and S8 her from behind in October 2024 and January 2025, blatantly ignoring her pleas for him to stop. The lawsuit details instances of
That was the backdoor, no condom, nah, we ain't doing condoms kind of thing. Yeah, that's what that was all about. Everything up to that was fine, but it was when it was that one time. And I guess, that's kind of, I think that was also written in the document as well. It's like, it doesn't matter if you had consensual sex 100 times with this person or 99 times, on the 100th time when she says no and you still do it, it's a problem.
threats and physical assault, stating Sharpe refused to accept the answered no, even as she sobbed and screamed. She claimed that they met in an LA gym and were in a consensual relationship for 2 years, but his behavior turned mean, and he allegedly threatened to unalive her when she attempted to share her location with friends. She also claimed that he insisted on recording their intimate encounters, at times without her knowledge, and claimed they were for personal use, though she accused Sharpe of sharing the videos with friends on multiple occasions. Well, Shannon was not about to let his name get dragged in the mud like this, so he clapped back extra hard in a statement released by his lawyer. In the statement, he included transcripts of some texts that he got from Gabriella. And heads up, they're definitely graphic, like insanely graphic. In the text, she said stuff like, "I want you to put a dog collar on my neck and choke."
Oh, wait a minute. I actually have this. Give me 1 second. I have it right here. Let me see if I can zoom this in for you guys. I don't know. I don't know if that's clear or not, but it says, this is a statement from Lenny J. Davis. This is going to be oh wait, Coke Benny says, "I just came back from your previous stream and damn, that's a lot of hate. I told you, bro. I told you. And you know what? I do nothing different. I did nothing different on that stream that I do every stream, but they just came out for me, man. I don't know who it was. But I'm still here, man. And you know what? The hate, it just makes me stronger, bro. It's cool. So the statement from Lenny J. Davis, that's the counsel for Shannon Sharpe. "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me." I feel like I'm gonna get clipped out of context reading this, but it's okay. You guys know that right now I am reading a message from Gabrielle to Shannon Sharpe. I need to prefix that. Yeah. So she said, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you are effing me. And then I know you missed this big juicy A, 25K for each cheek." And then this lawsuit filed by Gabrielle and orchestrated by her attorney Tony Busby is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations and will not succeed. In her effort to extract a large financial settlement, Miss Zuniga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of consensual sexual encounter. "We believe the video has been heavily edited and taken entirely out of context." Oh, yeah, that was one thing that he said. He's like, "Look, I guess it was maybe like a 30-second clip that was presented," and he's like, "Look," he told Tony Busby, he's like, "Look, I don't have the video, but you guys, I know that video is probably like 10 minutes long. You need to release that." So yeah, it's kind of wild. Cook Mace says camp exposed. Yeah. All someone has to do now is just like clip any part of this content that I'm doing right here and just be like, "Yeah, I told you he was a freak. See, dog collar and all." He's charging 25 per cheek. Okay, so get back to it. In her effort to extract large final settlement, okay, yeah, "We believe the video has been heavily edited and taken entirely out of context, crafted to falsely portray a consensual act as non-consensual. Miss Zuniga has refused to provide a copy of the full, unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team," which, you have to do that. We all know from other legal movies and watching court cases and stuff like that, you have to disclose everything that you have because, it's called disclosure. You're supposed to do that. So, to set the record straight, we are releasing several of Ms. Zuniga's own explicit text messages to Mr. Sharpe that clearly indicate the nature of the relationship as consensual and sexual in nature, and in many cases, initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. Contrary to the allegations she makes in her lawsuit, consensual sex continued until January 2nd, 2025, the day after she asked for $25,000 per cheek, as quoted above in her text message to Mr. Sharpe. There are other examples of texts from Mrs. Zuniga. For example, and the next page here. Only if you put, oh, here we go. Clippers, get ready, okay? She said, only if you put that baby gravy in me, then I will do whatever I want. Wait, then I can do whatever I want to me? She messed that up. No, it's supposed to be, then you can do whatever you want to me. Oh, well. I'm not going to, be a grammar Nazi for this girl, but it is what it is. People make mistakes. As you know. I want to put my tongue in your backside and then marry you. That was pretty sweet of her to say. That's my daddy F. I want to put that big black baby in me. Okay. Yeah, she was I don't know if this is like race play or something, because she is a white girl saying this. Shannon Sharpe, from what I understand, is very country, and maybe he is into that, into that race play. He's like, call me the N-word, while they're doing it. Might be, you better crave it because you're gonna be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me. She was very confident in her attributes. Let's just say that. These messages are just a sampling of a broader pattern of graphic sexual communications initiated by Ms. Zuniga. Exo Charles said $25K per cheek. It's that we saw the cheeks, okay? We saw it. So, let's look at it again. You guys probably need a reminder because I know I do. Give me 1 second. 25 per cheek. Is there a way to make this bigger? I don't know. I don't think so. 25 per cheek? I don't know, man. It just looks like, run of the mill. Maybe I'm out of touch. I don't know. It looks regular to me. 25 per cheek. I remember, I think I saw like a community post from one of these creators, and they said, "Can somebody explain to me what 25 per cheek means?" And it was just like, obviously, every time. I just read this comment. It says, "Are these the 25K cheeks I've been hearing about?" Oh man, yeah. What I was hearing as far as like the whole explanation is that, yeah, she wants 50K for every time he hits it, which, that's just the whole OnlyFans coming out. She wanted to, I guess, apply it to their relationship too. She's like, look, if you want to be a top tier supporter, 25K per cheek will get you in there. And it's just like, you guys have been together for 2 years. I don't understand how you're going to start charging now. Just, I don't know. Maybe it's role play all over again. Going back, the edited tape that Miss Zuniga secretly taped and showed Mr. Sharpe during her blackmail attempt tries to falsely portray, as a result of this editing and out of context from prior text messages, that the sexual activity was not consensual. But Mr. Sharpe now believes her secret taping was all part of her plan to set up as part of a blackmail scheme, as distorted by her edited tape, a copy of which she refused to make available to Mr. Sharpe or his counsel. So, yeah, if this goes to court, which for Shannon Sharpe's case, I hope it does go to court, because then, like, all of the evidence that she has on her side, she has to disclose, and and it will be out there. And hopefully there won't be anything, bad. Hopefully it'll just be a long consensual tape, whatever. Mr. Sharpe categorically denies all allegations of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of grape, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims vigorously in court. He looks forward to vindication through due process and a judgment based on facts and the law. So there you go, guys. I mean, he's willing to take this to court, and he's got nothing to hide. So maybe we'll see this play out. And hopefully, and oh, that's one thing I needed to mention. So Disney, ESPN, they are kind of hedging their bets right now. They're not publicly coming forward and saying that Shannon Sharpe is going to be what's it called, be dropped completely or fired, whatever. They just put it out that, hey, we agree with Shannon Sharpe's decision to step down so that he can focus on this legal case, and and all that stuff. They didn't say anything about he's not going to be able to come back, whatever, if found guilty or whatever. But that's the thing. I also think that why everything has been done here, why everything's been put out, made public, whatever, Shannon Sharpe is trying to get the court of public opinion. He wants the people on his side. Cook Benny says, already clipped it and dropped it in your IG DMs. Jesus, man. I'm gonna check that privately. All right, I'm not gonna put that in this video. But so that was everything. Let's go. Let's continue.
Poke me with it while you're effing me. I know you miss this big juicy ass. 25,000 for each cheek. Only if you put that baby gravy in me. Then you can do whatever you want.
Damn, if I knew that she was gonna read it out, I should have just had her read it. It sounds a lot better, right?
To me. I want to put my tongue in your a-hole and then marry you. That's my daddy. I want you to put a big black baby in me. You better crave it because you're going to be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me. Yo, it's just...
I mean, this is like common baby trapping, all right? We've seen this ever since the 90s, man. It's like baby trappers. You got to wrap it up because a woman's going to try to trap you, man. She's going to trap you with a baby that is not yours. And, we've seen this, man. This is like textbook baby trapping, but it's out in the open. It's like, this is like, I don't know, maybe she's young, so she doesn't know how to hide it really well or be subtle about it. And yeah, she was sloppy on her end too.
Exhausting, but I said they was graphic. But what's the obsession with this big black baby thing? That's definitely weird. Considering that Gabriella is white, it kind of sounds like Shannon is into some type of race play.
That's pretty much what I was saying too. Which maybe it's just an inside joke for them. Like he knows that she's not racist. It's just one of those things. Maybe it gets him excited. When he encounters a little racism.
Which, you know what? We're not even going to unpack that whole mess right now because as country as he is, he's seen some things. But anyways, Shannon's statement also said this lawsuit filed by Gabriella Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars in her effort to extract a large financial settlement. Ms. Zuniga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of a consensual intimate encounter. We believe that this video has been heavily edited and taken entirely out of context, crafted to falsify or portray a consensual act as a non-consensual.
Release the video. Upload it online for our viewing pleasure. I mean, research.
Continued, the evidence paints a clear picture. This was a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, adult language, and fantasy scenarios explicitly requested by Ms. Zuniga. The edited tape that Ms. Zuniga secretly taped and showed Mr. Sharpe during her blackmail attempt tries to falsely portray, as a result of this editing and out of context from prior text messages, that the intimate activity was not consensual. Mr. Sharpe categorically denies all allegations of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of SA, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims vigorously in court. He looks forward to vindication through due process and a judgment based on the facts and the law.
And you know what? Hands off to Shannon Sharpe for wanting to go to court and handle this. And, you know, I mean, the thing is, though, the proof is that he's already offered her $10 million to make this go away. And now the fact that she has denied this, some people are like, well, maybe it's not all about the money. I'm like, no, it's about a bigger bag, dude. $10 million wasn't enough for her, man. She's like, I want half of what you're about to get. And, but I think the net worth of Shannon Sharpe is like 14 million. So some people are just like, how is he going to give her 10 million? But, you know, those net worth things are never correct. Never accurate, at least.
Well, he also posted a video where he claimed that he was being blackmailed by Tony Busby, you know, the same lawyer who brought the essay lawsuit against Jay-Z. And he also claimed that Busby would release an audio that was designed to make him look bad because it had been taken out of context. He also claimed that Gabriella and Busby were asking for $50 million in their lawsuit.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to.
Damn, dog, you just outed yourself. You're only you can only do it for about 10 minutes, man. Oh man, what would Fresh say? Fresh would be like, oh man, 2 hours minimum. But I mean, what I will say about this is that it's good that he is already kind of getting ahead of it. But I don't think legally this was a good idea. I mean, I think he should have like held all this back, you know, like he should have. I think the less you say and the less you expose, I think the better it will be for your case when you actually go to court. But he's made this so public on his own accord. It might end up hurting him in the end, possibly. We don't know. We don't know how it's going to go.
Manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans.
Damn, he gave the OnlyFans tag too.
Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about, and I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Now, as far as this statement, I think it's coming from at least it's coming from a good place. You know, he's like, he knows people that are his fans, people that watch his show and everything. He knows that he's all about real talk and giving it raw and stuff. And not, I mean, no pun intended. All right. But, you know, just raw talk and being, just being a real person. So being an open, honest, open book kind of guy, I think it was just in his nature to be open about this whole case when, you know, traditionally lawyers can be like, you need to kind of save some of that, you know, like don't say nothing, just let her hang herself with whatever information she wants to expose you with. And we'll come back for, full handed with a lot more to drop on her. So this is right here, this gentleman here, this is Tony Busby. This is the Saul Goodman of the whole situation. And he's the one who went after Jay-Z. He's represented a few of the girls that were going after Diddy and a few other celebrities. So
at this point, Tony Busby finally clapped back, claiming that Shannon had offered Gabriella $10 million during mediation in exchange for her not filing the lawsuit. He wrote, back in early February, our office contacted Mr. Sharpe on behalf of Jane Doe and
okay, so you don't have to read it like an asshole. Just read it normally. Come on now. And she's got the music in the background. I hate when people do this. Just I don't know. I'll read it. Busby claimed back in early February, our office contacted Mr. Sharpe on behalf of Jane Doe and broached the subject of a meeting. Multiple conversations took place. Ultimately, a mediation occurred. According to Busby, Sharpe, 56, was represented by different lawyers in that mediation. That mediation process went on for more than 6 weeks, ultimately leading to Mr. Sharpe making an incredibly significant offer to settle. However, Gabrielle allegedly refused the hefty sum offered by Sharpe and instead filed this case.
Of a meeting.
Yeah, let's
Multiple
go forward.
conversations took place, ultimately a mediation. He also claimed that the texts Shannon and his lawyers had released were old texts sent before the alleged SA incidents. He wrote, "Every text that Mr. Sharpe's counsel released today, purportedly from Jane Doe, are dated prior to the alleged brutal assault set forth in Jane Doe's case. Those texts were obviously released in an effort to distract the public's attention from the allegation in Jane Doe's lawsuit. It won't work." But Mr. Busby was not done with Mr. Shannon yet, because he also released an audio where Shannon could be heard threatening to choke Gabriella.
I don't know. Anything I say, you're just gonna like get mad at and you're just gonna hang up on me, so I feel like...
I'm not gonna hang up on you. It is what it is.
This is the audio I played for you guys earlier. So in terms of the context, it's like she had this all set up that, okay, I'm going to get him to say what he normally says when we're together, which, you know, maybe they do a little bit of a SM, you know, BDSM play or whatever. And, you know, she knew that she could coax him into saying something that would incriminate him later. So I honestly think that was the whole angle here with the recording.
What does that even mean?
Nothing, Gabby. You want to be a dick to me now, so.
I don't want to be... Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm going to fucking choke the shit out of you when I see you.
I don't...
You know what?
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
In another audio, he made a disturbing comment about big black guy choking a small white woman.
Well, I'm not really interested in getting...
This music is like so crazy, like unnecessary, suspenseful. The fact is, like, you guys can hear her in the tone of her voice. She's just like, okay, right? Like, she's been smoking, obviously, and like thinking up this whole scheme, and just, you know, she's just like really going really slow, and she's probably either on like took like a muscle relaxer or something, dude, because she is like she's really slow right now.
Choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah, I might choke you in public. Big black guy chokes small white woman.
It's not a good look, Shannon.
Not a good look that you did with the shit you did to me.
Okay,
Y'all, this is not looking good at
So
all. After releasing the audio, Tony Busby wrote...
that whole clip was like so suspenseful. The music just like really drove the the whole suspense, man. But I mean, like I'm saying, it's like she was fishing for him to say something incriminating, and I think she got a little bit of it. But the fact is, their relationship for going on for 2 years was probably a very, you know, dominant sexual type relationship, and it was just they were just used to that, you know, like he probably was comfortable with saying things like that to her, not being in a malicious way or even in a violent way, just kind of like that's how they role played with each other. And you know, I can kind of understand that, but you know, any outsider that is going to listen to that for the first time, not knowing the situation or actually being motivated to win a case, of course they're going to look at that as like, oh yeah, dude, you're a danger to society, man. You were threatening to unalive this girl. When it's just like, no, man, you just don't understand our dynamic.
The contents of this clip are certainly not... They're not playful. They are instead disturbing, dangerous.
See? It's just like anybody from the outside looking in, they hear that with not even knowing the context, and we're like, oh yeah, this is a monster here.
The audio paints a very clear picture of how Sharpe treated Jane Doe, leading her to escape from him by leaving Nevada and blocking all contact with him. He also doubled down on the claims that Shannon's team offered Gabriella $10 million, saying, on the one hand, Mr. Sharpe and his lawyers claim that the case filed by Jane Doe is meritless, yet on the other hand, they now have disclosed that Mr. Sharpe offered Jane Doe $10 million in writing not to file her lawsuit.
Now that is not an admission of guilt, him offering her that $10 million. That could just be like, look, I'm going to give her $10 million just so this can go away and I can get on with my life. Because sitting in a courtroom for weeks on end, you know, having all your business out there publicly and stuff, it's probably not something he wants to do. And he's like, look, if I can just settle out of court, it is what it is. I don't think it's like an admission of guilt. Like, yeah, he probably... It's like, look, she's retracting her consent. That's what the situation is. And I just don't want to go through all of this. And if I can just pay her off, I'll pay her off. That's how I see it. But some people are like, no, this is obviously an admission of guilt. That's why he's trying to settle outside of court, which I can kind of understand why someone would see it that way, but I don't think that is the case for this one.
That is a true statement. Jane Doe was in fact offered $10 million to settle but rejected that offer, choosing instead to proceed with litigation. Sharpe's team is now trying to discredit and dox her. Sharpe and his team are now, as anticipated, also attacking me. We are not going to be deterred by these tactics. Well, Mr. Shannon's lawyer was not about to let that slide because he then accused Gabriella of being greedy. See, Shannon is expected to sign a $100 million media deal any day now. And according to his lawyer, that's why Gabriella has dollar signs in her eyes. See, Shannon...
And that's another thing. So if he's supposed to get this $100 million deal, which is now kind of fallen through, it's not happening anymore. Why would Shannon Sharpe decide to step away from ESPN so that he could handle this court case? It's just like, you know, he was told by Disney executives, and, you know, I'm sure the shareholders were up in arms too, that we don't want this guy on the airwaves while this controversy is going on, you know? So yeah, he was told, and by the grace of Disney and ESPN, they told him like, hey, we don't want you to look bad, so we will let you resign. And that way it won't look like we're firing you.
Was sued a day before it was publicly announced that he is expected to sign a deal for his club Shay podcast that would exceed $100 million after his contract with Colin Cowherd's The Volume podcast network expired recently. His lawyer said, her knowledge that Mr. Sharpe's about to receive a very lucrative contract, she knew that, took advantage of it, and I describe this as my opinion that this is a classic definition of blackmail that gives the greatest leverage to blackmail. He also exposed Gabriella as an OnlyFans creator, saying what she does on OnlyFans was for money and role-playing and virtual fantasy with men who pay her. It was the fact that the plaintiff started to charge Mr. Sharpe money. This is who she is by the facts. I'm just describing that she's on OnlyFans and charges people money to do role-playing.
So yeah, she took it into real life. She took it offline and she said $25K per cheek because she knew he had it like that. I mean, can't really fault her for trying.
Well, Busby clapped back again and said, Mr. Sharpe's aggressive approach will instead have the opposite effect. Miss Doe is not afraid of the truth. She relies upon it. I look forward to presenting the evidence in this case through the judicial process, where the truth matters more than a sports icon's desperate public spin. Y'all, this is a very, 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 very bad hot mess because fans are split on this. On one hand, Tony Busby doesn't exactly have a good reputation when it comes to SA lawsuits. He's the same lawyer who filed a lawsuit against Jay-Z last year, accusing him of allegedly SAing a 13-year-old.
And it did not end well. He got sued for defamation.
An after party for the VMAs back in 2000. The lawsuit was eventually dropped and dismissed, and another Jane Doe claimed that Busby had told her a lie. He got countersued by Jay-Z for defamation and extortion, and that was all very messy too. So when he brought another lawsuit against another successful black man, well, fans are starting to give him the side eye and wondering if extortion is a side hustle or something else for him. But on the other hand, there are people who believe that because Shannon is known to be quite freaky deaky in the bedroom. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a difference between being freaky deaky and SA, but fans are wondering if there could have been some type of overlap. While fans are split on this, y'all want to know who is enjoying Shannon's downfall? Allegedly, Cat Williams. I know this is kind of shocking, but there have been rumors for a while now that Cat and Shannon have been on the outs. And it all started after the Club Shay Shay interview. The chaos kicked off the second that podcast went viral. Cat quickly landed in hot water with a whole bunch of black entertainers, especially fellow comedians.
That's what I was saying earlier. Basically, he was exposing all of these names in Hollywood, and you know, some of them were also, you know, in the closet as well, and you know, he was exposing all of that. And yeah, I mean, these people have images to uphold, and yeah, they all came down because he's like, bro, you unwarranted did all that, you said all of that just to say it. And yeah, man, it was all part of the exposure. 2024.
And honestly, you could kind of see why. Some parts of that interview got Cat looking real bitter, like he had some long-standing beef to get off his chest. And during his appearance on Club Shay Shay, Cat went full confessional mode, airing out other celebrities with no filter. He wasn't tiptoeing around anything. He dove straight into the drama, straight no chaser. And although folks were laughing all over the internet, the entertainers that got the backlash were not handling it well. Because let's be real, nobody wants their skeletons dragged out on a public platform. But Cat unloaded that clip like he'd been sitting on all that tea for years, just waiting for the right moment, and Shannon Sharpe served it up on a silver platter. But the aftermath of that interview was a mess, and they got a lot of hate for it, especially Cat. Dave Chappelle was one of the first comedians to drag Shannon and Cat when he said, "What part of the game is this?" He ate the ninjas. He didn't say anything about any of those white boys. None of those white boys function like that. Cat is one of the best painters in the game, so why are you drawing ugly pictures of us? Stop. Hurt people, but I'm a hurt person that never hurt people, and he does it all the time. He also accused them of trying to ruin the lives of his fellow black men, and he said, "If I told my story, it would break your heart. I lost everything and never ever told on anybody," and he is acting like the arbiter of truth. Cat, listen, I F with Cat hard, but D-Ray, tell me what part of the game F's up another ninja's paper? What part of the game is about telling on another ninja? Now, at first, all the backlash was directed straight at Cat, and folks were calling him bitter, saying he was lying and that he was the real problem, and dubbed him a hater for how.
And you know, that's will happen commonly. You know, if you have the facts, people will be like, we don't want to hear the facts, man. It's like, you're just a hater. It happens, man. And when you're unapologetic about it, like Cat Williams is, yeah, it's like he's like, look, I got nothing to lose, man. He got passed on a lot of things. Maybe he could have been a little bit more successful if he played ball, but no, he was just like, I'm just gonna be true to myself. And if people want to hire me and work with me and stuff, they're gonna get the raw, real Cat Williams. And you know, he gets a lot of praise for that for a lot of people. So
how he came across in that interview. But then Monique sat down with Club Shay Shay, and suddenly the tide shifted and people started side-eyeing Shannon Sharpe himself, realizing that he was the common thread in both messy interviews. And in classic Club Shay Shay fashion, he deflected. He basically threw Cat under the bus, acting like the whole thing was all Cat. Shannon painted himself as just a guy going with the flow, insisting that Cat was the one leading the charge and stirring that pot. According to him, he was just playing off of what Cat was already saying. Well, Shannon had already apparently been feeling some type of way about all the backlash. In his mind, he was just doing his job as an interviewer, asking questions and letting his guests speak. He hadn't pressured Cat to spill any tea or force him to say any words. So as far as he was concerned, he shouldn't have been the one getting the hate. And I kind of agree with him on that. But according to someone close to the situation, Shannon has been venting behind the scenes, frustrated that Cat's bombshell interview had thrown his entire show off course. What used to be seen as a credible platform for real conversations was viewed as a circus act. Shannon worried that the chaos might make it harder to book big-name guests in the future, and he put the
any of the guests that Cat Williams named, he won't be able to get on the show. They're like, nah, man, which makes sense. That's kind of the thing, you know, when you have a guest, you know, on that is so unfiltered like Cat Williams, you know, you kind of do run the risk of, yeah, I mean, this show is going to do a lot of numbers, but are we going to have a show after this? So Cabos, man, welcome to the stream. Sup, guys? Sup, Camp? Are you guys reacting to any clips of Myron's college debate? Yes, I mentioned that earlier. We are going to be talking about that. I just wanted to get through this first segment, which is the Shannon Sharpe debacle and how that's going. Right now, he's staying down from ESPN and other people that he's worked with closely. Stephen A. Smith made a statement, and I actually want to go to that one after that, and then after that we can go to Myron. So, but yeah, shout out to this creator. Her name is Miss T. She's does really good work. But yeah, I mean, this video kind of encapsulated all of the different research from all the different videos I was watching and all the different clips and stuff. I do need to find where the text messages, because that came out too on a different video. But yeah, let me find that one for, I think it was Stephen A. Smith, and he talked about this here. Let's see it. Yeah, this one here. So this one came out 4 days ago. This was Stephen A. Smith, his co-host. And so let's see what he has to say.
All right, everybody, listen up. With all the big-time sports action that's happening each and every day, the Stephen A. Smith Show wants to make sure...
Let's get through the ad read first. Let's see if I can skip this a little bit. Prize picks. Okay. Download Prize Picks, everybody.
$50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Welcome to this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, thanking all of y'all for y'all support for watching the show and what have you. The millions of downloads I received over iHeartRadio. Subscribers now eclipsing 1.18 million. Thank you so much for the love and support. Today's a different day because of where I have to get started and where I have to finish. There's only going to be one subject discussed today, and it's where we're getting started. It's involving some news that broke yesterday involving Shannon Sharpe, my colleague at ESPN and my friend.
Stephen A. Smith is the one responsible for bringing Shannon Sharpe on to the show, because I think when before that, I think Shannon Sharpe was an anchor on Fox. So after he left Fox, Stephen A. Smith brought him on to ESPN.
Hall of Fame tight end was sued on Sunday by a woman proceeding under the name Jane Doe pseudonym. The 13-page civil complaint filed in Nevada alleges that Sharpe committed assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. The plaintiff alleges Sharpe sexually assaulted her several times at the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. The suit also alleges that Shannon engaged in the intentional infliction of emotional distress. It should be noted that the suit was filed by attorney Tony Busby. This is the same attorney that filed a suit against Jay-Z and P. Diddy, alleging they both sexually assaulted a minor, which has since been withdrawn. Jay-Z also has countersued Busby. By the way, the plaintiff in the Sharpe civil suit is not the woman heard in the accidental Instagram live stream incident that made headlines last September of last year.
Now, I guess a little bit of background on that. Shannon Sharpe went on Instagram Live, probably by accident, because his phone was aimed at the floor, and he was maxing somebody out, in the bed. And yeah, the live was going, people were commenting, and yeah, I didn't actually watch it. I saw it in clips of other videos and stuff. No audio, of course, but yeah, just watching the chat, just scroll, and people were just like, whoa, did he forget that his phone was on? Like, what's going on here? So yeah, he gave people a little bit of a free show there, but that's what he was talking about. A little bit of background about this. Like, I do think that Stephen A. Smith was, I believe he went and spoke to the executives, the CEOs at Disney, about being able to speak on this subject, because they're both employees. And I know that there were other ESPN employees that were having issues with Shannon Sharpe being offered this $100 million deal when, they've been working there, kind of under the radar for years and not getting approached with this type of deal. So there's a little bit of jealousy there. But so Stephen A. Smith going to the executives at Disney, they probably wanted to test his loyalty and how he was going to handle this. So they said, yeah, let's see how Stephen A. Smith will address this situation, and if he will side with his friend or if he will side with the company. So let's see.
Response to the suit, Shannon and his legal team went to social media yesterday and released a series of allegedly sexually explicit text messages between him and the Jane Doe. In addition to that, they issued the following statement, quote, "This lawsuit, filed by Gabriella Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies."
Now, Shannon Sharpe saying the term shakedown, that this is a shakedown, was probably not the wisest thing for him to say, because the money that he's getting, the money that people that are signing his checks, ESPN and Disney, they are not going to get shook down. So of course they are going to approach this with, okay, we're going to ask him to say that he is going to step back. He's going to step back and all that stuff, instead of us, coming down and reacting and stuff. I think that Disney, ESPN, they are going to just kind of see how this thing plays out in terms of the court case, and then maybe decide to bring him back, or maybe decide to keep him off, make it, a permanent vacation possibly. But we have to see how it plays out.
Distortions and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed, end quote. Then earlier today, Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, sent TMZ Sports a 1 minute and 36-second clip of an alleged conversation between his client and Shannon. In response to that clip, Shannon Sharpe went back to social media and issued this response. Take a look.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question...
Wait, Shannon Sharpe would release the video himself to clear his name? I mean, if it's not that bad, I mean, it could be that bad, but if it's not that bad, then he probably wouldn't say that. But also, I think I said this before, him coming forward and reacting like this, going back to social media, bringing it up to everybody and stuff, to, public opinion, it's to get ahead of it so that he's still viewed as honest, still open about everything. He doesn't want people to even form an opinion about what this is. He basically wants, he wants everybody to hear it from his mouth. And, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be wise or not, because we have to see what the rest of the tape is. So, you can't really form an opinion just yet.
Took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly, on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about, and I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Well, it's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. Works on First Take, which airs on ESPN every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. He's been with me every Monday and Tuesday. We've been number one for 13 years and counting. But since Shannon has arrived, obviously he's helped the show immensely. And I can't thank him enough for it. We've grown close as friends. I'd like to believe that. I certainly root for him. I know he's been through a lot in life. He's overcome a lot of things. And when he departed from Fox, I was more than happy to bring him on board here. So all I can speak about is what I know based on the reports.
Wait. Based on the reports, he should have said based on what I know of the guy, because he said that he worked close with him. You know, he brought him on from Fox, and yeah, they developed a friendship, you know? So he could have just said, the fact that he said based on the reports, that's like, wait a minute. Okay, so now we see that the corporate execs have now put him up to this to test Stephen A. Smith to see where his loyalty lies. And it looks like his loyalty is with the company by him saying just that.
Speak about ESPN and Disney. To be clear, even though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. With that being said, it's important to point out a couple of things. Number one, I was not there. I am not.
No shit, you weren't there. That's why we have to go to court, man, because we need to figure out the facts. Nobody was there.
I can provide no eyewitness account. And even though I got love and respect for Shannon Sharpe, and I'm sincerely hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him, I can't sit here and speak to his innocence or guilt from a knowledgeable place, because I have nothing to do with this. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. I don't even know this person.
There you go. He's definitely taking the company side right there. He's not willing to risk his job or anything, you know, which it makes sense. It makes sense from a level-headed perspective of, I'm just trying to preserve myself. I know I work close to the guy. I know I have kind of a close friendship with him, but I don't know if he's good news or bad news, you know? Like, I'm willing to just wait out on the facts, and that's at least Stephen A. Smith's position here. He's not willing to risk it all for his friend there.
I know what the reports say. I know the reports, the things that have been reported on a multitude of outlets, from the AP to the New York Post to Forbes to TMZ and everything in between. I mean, I can't even count the number of publications that have talked about it or written about it, networks, etc. It's all over the internet. It's everywhere. And I know that. I'm fully aware of that. This is not a criminal case. So there is no concern about him going to jail. This is a civil case, which means that he can either be found liable or not liable. The accuser in question is seeking $50 million. That was confirmed by Shannon Sharpe on that video today. According to the reports, it's somebody that he met in 2023. who was 19 years old at that particular moment in time. According to some audio that was put out earlier today by Attorney Busby, you hear the accuser, the female, talking to somebody who is alleged to be Shannon Sharpe. We don't know whether that's true or not. And the person in question, again, we don't know whether it's Shannon or not, other the words choke, as in I will choke the hell out of you if I saw you. And so because of that, knowing that audio was probably going to come out along with additional tapes, whether they be video or audio is unclear at this particular moment in time, Shannon Sharpe felt compelled to come out in his own defense.
Which may not have been a good idea. You know, he might have shot himself in the foot saying too much. The whole doxing her and stuff when she wanted to be anonymous, that's a whole nother thing. I don't know if they will, strike that against him for doing that. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely an emotional response, to save face and to, set the record straight. And, maybe it would have been wise for him to just keep quiet and let the girl hang herself and put all this stuff out. But again, court of public opinion, I've said this before on past live streams, that if you get accused of grape, it almost doesn't matter if you're innocent, It's like, even if you beat the case, people will still be saying those things about you, People that don't know the facts, people that don't really look into it. They read the headline and they just stop there. And so, yeah, maybe Shannon Sharpe coming forward, putting additional content out there for people to see, for it to go viral and stuff. He wants to turn the narrative. So it makes sense why he did it.
We interpret that. Let me be very, very clear about where I'm coming from. I'm a bit torn in terms of his response. On one hand, Tony Busby has sued Jay-Z. He did sue Diddy. He did accuse them, or represented the woman who was accusing them of assault, of sexual assault, and said that she was 13 years of age at the time when talking about Jay-Z and Diddy, and Jay-Z went ballistic and emphatically denied it, wouldn't let it go. The case was dropped, and now he's suing Busby, mentioning words like extortion and other things. So when Shannon Sharpe brought up Mr. Busby in that video that we aired and talked about him being extorted, he brought up Mr. Busby and Mr. Busby's past. And he talked about him, going against African-American men. There's two thoughts there. On one hand, there's the Jay-Z, who obviously should be presumed innocent, not just because you should be presumed innocent until found guilty, but because of the manner in which he fought on his own behalf and has been very aggressive in going after Tony Busby. In the case of P. Diddy, you don't know what to believe. Again, the case against Jay-Z was a civil suit. Diddy was a civil suit. But in Diddy, you don't know what to believe because of all the allegations he's facing.
And all the video evidence that was produced that he kept for some reason. I don't know why he felt the need to record everything that he was doing so he could probably watch it later. I don't know. I don't know why Diddy did that. But, I mean, and also having a Costco pallet of baby oil, that also doesn't look good on his part either.
But we can't forget that Tony Busby was also the person that represented at least 24 of the 27 women that accused Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct along with other allegations. And at least 23 of those cases were settled. So we have an obligation to mention that. So on one hand, going on the offensive to defend himself, I completely understand where Shannon Sharpe is coming from. On the other hand, when his legal team issued out the press release on X yesterday, and they spoke about, they mentioned her name, and they revealed some of those explicit text messages, that was uncomfortable. And I don't know if that's a strategy that would work.
Whether it worked or not, it got people talking, it got people deciding and thinking, okay, if he's putting this information out for us to be public, he obviously isn't afraid of it. He understands that he can use this truth to get people on his side. That, look, I don't have anything to hide. Okay, it's not that bad to hide. You know, if it was something, you know, worth hiding, you know, I would have hidden it. But which, you know, maybe that works in his favor, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it all depends on what's going to come out on whatever tape that girl has on him. She's going to have to disclose it, and it is what it is. So yeah.
One of the hardest things in the world for all of us to do is to just lay low and be quiet and let our legal team do it. And we don't always know whether or not that's the right thing to do. I know, and I can tell you all, that I spoke to Shannon, not in details, but I spoke to him, and he emphatically proclaims his innocence. According to Mr. Busby, his client emphatically proclaims his guilt. So where does that leave us? I'd love to tell you that I know the answer to that question, but I don't. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on.
This is basically pulling into what I was talking about earlier. He has people above him that are going to test his loyalty to see whether he chooses Shannon or over the company. And Stephen A. Smith, he's going to choose the company, man, at the end of the day, because Shannon Sharpe's not going to pay his bills, you know, if he gets canned. V. Darden, welcome to the stream. I don't know what you're laughing at. This is not a laughing matter. If you're laughing at me, I don't know. Maybe you're one of those people from last stream. I don't know. But welcome anyway. Just to let you know, man, if anybody from the last stream wants to subscribe for an hour to me just so that they can hate, you're fine. Anybody that is a moderator in here, let's not ban anybody. If they want to hate is fine. I can take it. I'm a big boy. So let's just see if people can keep things friendly here.
I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously, and we are looking into this very, very closely. And once we gather as many facts as we possibly can, we will go from there. And that is all he said. And I can mention his name because I received his permission to say that. I don't know what that means. In my perfect world, this equates to Jay-Z.
Yeah, this whole situation we've seen before, and, you know, it's probably going to play out the same way, you know. That whole saying that, you know, the shots that you don't take, you know, there's I think this this lawyer, he's going to basically shoot at everybody, and something's going to hit. Something's going to take, and he's going to win a case. But as long as he just keeps aiming at shots, he's going to keep taking them. So,
where the case ultimately dropped, and Shannon is allowed to continue on First Take and continue to thrive and shine, and not just that, and have an illustrious career in the podcast stratosphere, doing Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco, doing Club Shay Shay, and ultimately gets this $100 million deal that he was all over the news about to sign just a couple of days before this report came out. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth.
yeah, but you got to look at motive, you know? If she really wanted Shannon Sharpe to pay, you know, she would have filed a criminal case and not a civil case. You know, she really wanted him behind bars for how he wronged her. She wouldn't sue him for all this money. It would be for just the principle of so he won't hurt somebody else. That's the whole thing about SA cases. You know, it's like people, they're scared to come forward, but the ones that do, it always seems like it's money motivated. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know where this is going to go. I can't speak to anything else. I don't know who Shannon Sharpe's legal team is and what they're suggesting. I imagine that everything that has transpired has been at the behest of his lawyers, not just himself. I can tell you again that when I spoke to him, he is emphatic in stating his innocence, that this is a shakedown, to use his words.
Not a wise choice of words. V. Darden came back. He says, laughing at Stephen A. and his perfectly precise tightrope walk while he's side-eyeing his own bag. Dude, it's true. He has to be careful in how he parses out his words. He can't show loyalty to Shannon Sharpe over the company. He can't say certain things. You know, he has to remain neutral. And no, it's true. He definitely has to mind his P's and Q's, and because he's already spoken to the CEOs already, so they already told him what it is, and they probably even told him the plan of, you know, having it to where Shannon Sharpe is the one who's going to step down publicly. They're not going to fire him. They're going to let him step away. That way, it eases the whole situation, and people think that's okay. We get it that it's going to be for that, but you know. It's like when the boss at work, you know, your 9 to 5 tells you, hey, you can leave early if you want, you know, you're good, you know, after he chewed you out for whatever you did. And then, you know, next week comes around and they're like, you know what, you're good. You don't have to come back. You know, it's like one of those situations, like they'll let you go, but they'll let you off easy. That's what I think is happening, at least with Shannon Sharpe and ESPN.
How wise is it to use those kind of words when a civil matter of this nature is out there? When you have a podcast and you have advertisers and sponsors and you work for ESPN and they have advertising sponsors, I don't know. What can we say if any of us were in that position and we felt or were proclaiming we were innocent? I don't know. And I'm not about to pretend. I just wanted to make sure that I echo to all of you that the only reason I spoke on this issue is because he works with me 2 days a week. He's on national television. He was on national television with me today. He was on national television with me yesterday when the story came out Sunday night. I didn't know anything about it until we got on the air. But he was on air. And if you know him in part because of all the work that he's doing with me and what he's doing in this industry. I know everybody's been waiting, like, Stephen A., what you got to say about this? I got to say what I just told you. I don't know what's happened. I know I got love for the brother. I know that I'm wishing that he's innocent and all of this stuff goes away and he can continue to thrive with me on ESPN and thrive in his own platforms that he worked so diligently over the years to build. But anything...
Wishing for him to be innocent is different than saying, I know he's innocent. You know, I know that he's not capable of this, but he can't say it that strong. He's got to be neutral. You know, he's like, I wish the best for him, and I wish that, you know, he's not going through this, but he's not really taking it. He can't take a stand on it. That's literally what's going on here.
Anything else would be entirely irresponsible for me to speak on, and I can't do that. Yes, I own this. This is my platform, but I also have a day job, and I also understand what lawyers, what HR, and all of those other things entail.
Yeah, offline activity is what this is considered. Even though he's on his own YouTube channel, anything that he says publicly, you know, will reflect back on his job when he goes back in on Mondays. It's just like he's still under contract even when he's not working. So, yeah.
What I said is all I can say. And in all honesty, at this moment, it is all I know. I have no idea what direction ESPN and Walt Disney will go in when it comes to this matter.
Which I just kind of said, like, they're going to softly let him go. They're going to tell him to step down, which he's done. And then after this, however long this court case, if it does go to trial and stuff, however long it plays out, it will be, I mean, he'll still have Club Shay Shay, he'll still have Nightcap, you know, those shows are owned by Shannon Sharpe, so he can still do those. But as far as coming back to ESPN, that might not be on the horizon.
All I do know is it won't be me making a decision. It'll be others upstairs.
I'm just a guy at work, man. That's it. I'm not running anything. I got no pull here. Yeah. Stephen A. Smith has a little bit of egg on his face right now because he's the one that brought Shannon Sharpe in, and it makes he might feel that it makes him inadvertently look bad. Him going through all these different cases and all these different scandals and stuff. You know, he's like, I vouched for you, and look what's going on now. So yeah, it's like his credibility is on the line as well. At least that's how he thinks it.
In the end, all of us have someone to answer to. No matter how maverick we try to be, and we own our own business, and we're our sole proprietors like I am on this platform and stuff like that. There are advertisers, there are sponsors, there are people you do business with, there are partners, and there are bosses. That's the situation, unfortunately, that Shannon Sharpe finds himself in at this particular moment in time. I sincerely wish him the best. I got love for him. And I hope all of this is just a sad ordeal that goes away because there was no truth to it. But I don't know. Neither do you or the rest of us. And only time will tell what the truth is.
So, I mean, that pretty much went exactly the way I knew it would. You know, he was going to just kind of remain as a neutral party, but still give his opinion because, you know, he works so closely to Shannon Sharpe. But what we know right now is that until the court case begins and all the evidence is put forward, you know, nobody can exactly say, you know, without, you know, having a little bit of bias of what the outcome will be. So the only thing we can do is just wait. So as far as that, I don't know if there was anything else I needed to bring up. I know Stephen A. Smith was one of the things I needed to say. I think that was pretty much it, though. I don't know what you guys think about this. If this was do you guys think that Shannon Sharpe is I mean, I think if anything, I think he's just guilty of being a freak, man. That's it. But I don't think he's like I don't think he's a rapist. But again, I can't say for sure. I mean, if she tells you, hey, you know, you're allowed to go in the back door, but just keep a condom on, and he's just like, nah, man, I'm good, and he still goes in, and then she, you know, she's like, no, that's not cool. There was another there was a thing that I was talking about earlier, or thinking about earlier, when he said, it wasn't to her, it wasn't to this girl here, Gabrielle Zanuga, but it was just that he had said to a girl, the girl that sued him 2 years ago about the whole assault thing. He said that he was going to do things to her to where men wouldn't want to be with her ever again. And it seems like it's kind of crazy, because if he took that same type of mindset to this current OnlyFans girl, you can't necessarily say that to her, because other men like wanting to like have fantasies and stuff with her, and then him saying, oh, I'm gonna basically make it to where no man wants you, that's like eating into her bread and butter as an OnlyFans creator. So it's like, that's kind of like the one thing you don't want to see. Exo Charles says, Myron debate time. Kawa says he's screwed either way. I don't see him returning to ESPN, or even that, even if the allegations aren't true. Yeah, dude, that goes back to what I said, man. It doesn't matter if it's true or if it's false, man. People are still going to believe, oh no, you just have millions of dollars, man, so you just paid to get out of it. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of that's going to be, a lot of people are going to hold that opinion. And there are going to be some true fans going to be like, no, man, I'm glad that, I hope that he does go to court and see this through, and all the facts are presented, so that there's no stone unturned, and it is without a shadow of a doubt that he is innocent. But until that happens, man, we just have to go off of, you know, what is presented to us. You know, maybe maybe if Shannon Sharpe does get disclosure on that 10-minute tape, whatever, he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna just go upload this and and see like, get everybody else on my side, and then, you know, we'll see. Or maybe his lawyer will reel him in and be like, let's just hold it back for the case, you know. Exo Charles came back. He says he should have been smarter. Many people gave him advice about these kind of women. Well, I mean, yeah, dude. But I mean, as a 56-year-old man, dude, you think you've been around the block a few times, and you know, like, the motives of young women, you know, especially women that are not even old enough to drink, you know, but they're like, they've already been exposed to, you know, people paying them just for their looks. So, you know, she's like taking these trips, she's getting all this designer stuff, you know, and so yeah, she's used to all that. And for one thing, I'm thinking about is that, yeah, so if she's gonna be like $25K per cheek, dude, that's like red flag number one, man. You're like, okay, now you're bringing business, you're mixing business and pleasure, you know, because you're bringing it offline and you're bringing it into our relationship. I mean, dude, that's crazy. That's just crazy, man. Yeah, so let's get to Myron now. Let's get to Myron and the whole college thing, because we talked about it. I spoke to, who was it? I think I spoke to Taking Souls for Free about this, and yeah, man, I told him I would definitely cover this. So let's go. I want to say it was, because he made a bunch of clips out of it, but let's find it. I think it was this one right here. Triggered college students said this after I said women deserve less. So here we go.
Because when those messages came out originally, and the allegations came out originally, it made Johnny Depp look terrible.
Oh, Exo Charles came back and said, I just think celebrities end up becoming wise or more delusional. Well, man, it kind of comes with the territory, right? I mean, when you get everything handed to you and you have like unlimited money, what is left? You know, you can buy anything you want, you can drive anything you want, go anywhere you want. I think the next step is pretty much power. You know, you want power, you want dominance, you want to own someone. You know, I think that's kind of like the next progressive step. You know, that's the one thing left that most people don't have is power over people. And you know, when you have a lot of money, influence, and you know, you kind of feel invincible. So it makes sense to me. Cookman says, Mayan trying to be Charlie Kirk. Oh yeah, dude. This whole college run that he's doing. You know what? It's actually, I want to say that this turned out to be it viewed a lot more than the podcast that Fresh did. I think Fresh did a, what did he have? I only know about this because of Reddit, but he had a live stream where he had some average guys on and average girls, and I guess he wanted to have them like have a conversation. And I'm not lying, bro. Like I saw the notification on Reddit, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh shit, he's at like 30 viewers right now. Even though like YouTube, it had like a couple thousand. And I was like, why does it say a couple thousand for YouTube on the Fresh Start, but he only has 30 people watching right now? It turns out that he was multi-streaming it on Fresh and Fit as well. So he was doing it on Fresh and Fit and also on a Fresh Start. And I think even on the Fresh and Fit channel of the average guys talking to average girls, it was, I think it was like maybe like 2,000 people. Whereas this with Myron, I think he had upwards of like 45K. And yeah, I mean, it goes to show you that, you know, all of the Fresh and Fit fans, people that watch Fresh and Fit, they watch it for Myron. They don't watch it for Fresh. And I mean, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, so let's see. I mean, I know at this table he had a sign that said why women deserve less, and just like everybody that wasn't standing in line to ask him questions completely was triggered by it and was just like heckling him from the side. So naturally, you know.
I mean, he lost a deal with Pirates of the Caribbean, lost a lot of money, lost a lot of support.
It sounds a little low.
Financially and
is that low to you guys? Let me make sure the volume's. We're only at 100. Jesus. I was like, that sounds low. Why didn't you guys say anything? Save this for YouTube. There we go. All right. That was so low. Okay.
Career, lost roles. And, you know, everyone believed Amber Heard, a.k.a. Amber Turd. And what ended up happening was he took it to trial, and it was one of
Uh-oh. Media blackout. Oh yeah,
him.
it's still going.
So, and
Charles came back. He said that Cook, Benny, and Myron. Myron got mad at whatever for stealing their after hours idea. Yeah, he did he got mad at whatever, and there was another one to God, I can't remember them. There's a few others, man, that really aren't really of note because they're not together anymore. But people just stealing that I mean, even Pearl did it for a little bit too. But yeah, you can tell that anybody that tries to do it always seems watered down. Even what's it called? Freaking Rollo Tomasi on and what's his face? Michael Sartain, their show. It's like a completely like aped scene of Fresh and Fit the way that they do it. And then I noticed that. Do you guys notice that the thumbnails for Fresh and Fit after they did the collaboration with Rollo Tomasi on their show, not the recent one, like way back when they did a collaboration with them, they started adopting their style of thumbnails, and it became like the current standard of what they do now. I noticed that. Carlos came back. He says, I know you probably talked about this, Camp, but honestly speaking, why do you think so many people dislike Fresh? I think it's a combination of things. For me, it's competence. I just don't think he's competent in front of the camera. I think if I were to employ Fresh, I would just keep him behind the camera, maybe as like a producer role. It's not like I don't think he offers anything in terms of like conversation dynamics. You know, he just seems like an audience surrogate to me. Other people will say that he's not fit and he's not he doesn't really represent the red pill ideals in terms of like, focusing on, your purpose and everything like that. He just kind of sleeps around and spends money and simps and stuff like that, or tricks on people, and people don't like him for that. He also lies. He will tell a lie, run with it for like a couple years, and then later out himself and say, "Yeah, I just did it for clicks." That 1,000 bodies thing, he said that, at first he said that for credibility, so that he could sell a DMs on demands course. And then it later came out that he said, "Oh, I just did that for clicks, so I can get people to, so I could have some type of credibility," which, it's just like, duh. Well, we see how you are with women, and we see how, they respond to you. And, if anything, they just see you as like a friendly guy, but not somebody they're like willing to like oogle over or lust over and stuff. It's not like that at all. I think other than that, I mean, just in his actions and stuff, I think people just don't like his stutter. They don't like his delivery. They just don't think he offers anything of value. And that's another thing that, the Fresh and Fit, they like to claim, is that they give value to their audience. And Fresh just seems to kind of ride on the coattails, and just kind of, he's there, but it's really Myron that's dispensing all the advice and all of the key points and stuff, and all the memorable stuff that is supposed to help you out. But no, it just seems that Fresh, he just kind of goes against everything that the red pill stands for, and people see through it. So, I mean, yeah, you're going to get a lot of hate for that. It's like, you just don't belong on this podcast. Anybody else would be a better fit, because at least a new person coming in, they could be like, they could have some opinions, or they can have a whole ideology that they believe in, that they believe strongly about. But you can't really say anything strongly that Fresh believes about. Just, he's all about getting box, man, in any way possible. If it means wearing sunglasses in the club to be mysterious, or just, selling the dream, just completely just going balls out to the wall, saying "I love you," bringing the girl to the mom, going on trips, going on expensive dinners, paying for fake jewelry. I mean, he'll do whatever it takes. And then he came out later. He came out later and said, all of this stuff that happened to us, he said that Abba and Preach were right. He's like, this whole thing about paying for box, he said, he's like, if we just paid for box, we wouldn't have any of these problems, because escorts, they know their role. They know that they're just supposed to do the thing, and they're supposed to keep it low. They're not supposed to like expose you for anything, because that's their whole angle. But the fact is, you get with these OnlyFans girls that are trying to get clout, and they're trying to get a bag, they're trying to find a come up, and you don't pay them. You try to say you get them off a genuine burning desire, and it always backfires on you. You get these allegations, and it's just, yeah. So, excuse me. That is why I would say the majority of people dislike Fresh, because he just doesn't represent the podcast well. Exo Charles at Cabos, because he's so fake and a hypocrite. Yeah. And Fresh were to be an honest guy, he wouldn't get hate. Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, he has a chance to give it to you straight on his Fresh Start, but he hasn't done that. He has become a co-host on his own show. That is Gary's podcast. Let's just be real, okay? That is Gary the Numbers Guy podcast with co-host Fresh and that other guy. I can't remember his name. He's Don Luker, the other guy. That's his other co-host. So yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't even watch a Fresh Start, but the clips that I've seen, it's like, yeah, that's Gary's podcast through and through. And Fresh, he's always gonna have to be the co-host, man, because he can't drive a show. When he did the average guys with the average girls, they were doing a lot of talking over him, and You know, he was just trying to get in wherever he could. He sat in the middle of the table and he still disappeared. so, so yeah.
For those that don't know, in California, if I'm not mistaken, it's a one-party state, so it's actually illegal to surreptitiously record someone. But he did it, and it was able to protect himself, because if he didn't have those recordings, you know, who knows where his crew would be now. And to this day, I don't even think he's been paid full back all the way. He just basically wanted to clear his name, but the damage was done. And I think that Johnny Depp case shed light on a very big societal problem we have, where women are able to exploit rich and powerful men for their own gain if they don't like the cards they were dealt after the relationship ends. I suspect that's what happened with Shannon Sharpe. That's what happened with Andrew Tate recently with this girl, right? She hired the same exact lawyer that Shannon Sharpe's accuser did, and she pumped her crypto coin. So it's like becoming egregious now, right? And I also find it funny, because I did a whole breakdown on this. When she revealed the pictures of her being abused, she had symmetrical injuries. So like what? Did Andrew like smack you on one side and then say, okay, hold still, and then bam, smack her again? Like, no, dude, like clearly.
Yeah, so apparently this girl had Botox scars or bruises and stuff on her face from the Botox that she had. And I guess she tried to pass that off as, you know, abuse from Andrew Tate. Who's to know if that's true or not? You know, I mean, we don't know. We don't know.
Clearly, the girl.
But Myron will know. He'll tell you. He's like, no, Andrew Tate wouldn't have done that. You know.
To use the injuries that come from like Botox and everything else like that to say that she had been hit. So that's another example of just the ridiculousness of the Me Too era and where we kind of stand. But it's good to see people waking up and finally questioning a lot of these women that are just looking for a come up. But yeah, anyway, besides me just yapping, anyone that wants to come up and you know, challenge one of my views or agrees, disagrees, give your 2 cents, you're more than welcome. I think all of you guys are, you know, somewhat smart. You're here in college, right? Unless you cheated on your SATs. But is it still SATs or ACTs now? It's SAT. Okay. Damn, I'm old. So I know different places take the ACT, but yeah. Oh, look at that. Everybody's scared, man. They were mad before. Oh, this guy's a misogynist. He's a sexist. Yeah, people were all pissed before, though. Now everybody's scared. But the reality is sexism is good, actually. It's actually good, yeah. No, it is. Sexism actually benefits women. It doesn't benefit men whatsoever.
He's just going to go into talking points of the show now, because I mean he said this plenty of times on Fresh and Fit, and I think he's just priming the audience right now. He's priming people to start heckling and get emotional and just come with their emotional arguments. So he's going off a playbook here.
Because here's the thing with sexism and equality and egalitarianism that we kind of have right now with our progressive society. So the way it benefits women is because it basically evens the playing field, right? So what ends up happening with sexism is women are able to kind of
Myron's hair is getting more gray. Yeah, I've noticed that actually. I saw it was a YouTube short of this clip, and the YouTube short, I guess, had caught him right as a moment where I guess the light had hit his hair, and it was very, very bright gray and made him look like super old. And I don't know if he's gonna start dyeing his hair and stuff, or just let it go gray. I mean, he's getting fired on all ends, man. I mean, I would say it's the constant tweeting on X and just going after people and just the constant stress of that. It's definitely giving him a lot more grays. Kava says, I don't understand how sexism is good if it only benefits women. Well, it's because well, so this is what Myron will say. Myron will say, me opening the door for you, that's sexism that benefits women. You know, me paying the bill for you because that's what a man is supposed to do. That's considered sexist, you know, but it benefits women. He's like, it's old school traditional, like, man handles everything and the woman just sits back and is taken care of, whatever. That is deemed as sexist. And he's like, but it benefits women.
Double dip. They're able to enjoy the chivalry, the gentleman type treatment, and be a lady when it suits them. But they're also able to go ahead and enter the workforce and behave like a man and pursue that. So they're basically able to double dip, and a big part of that is from the sexism, right? Because they're able to kind of get the best of both worlds. So sexism in itself inherently benefits women, because if they actually have to compete with men, they lose. I mean, look at the you literally see them like professional athletes that are females losing to high school boys in competition. So if we had to go ahead and just go off of straight meritocracy, we would have one sports league and women would never be able to participate. Like, that's the reality, right? And I remember when I was in college myself, I was a Division I athlete.
Here we go. Here we go. Let's talk about how men are superior and back in your college days. Let's hear about it.
I rode at Northeastern, and the women's team got a significant amount of money. Oh, we have a. What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, good. They cut him off on that. He could have really said, yeah, man. It was like we were brothers in arms, man. It's like boys being boys, man. And that's the thing. We get a bunch of men together, and we're all working towards the same goal. Yeah, you develop that brotherly love, and it's nothing. It's nothing to tuck each other in at night. Give a good kiss on the cheek and snuggle up. Big spoon, little spoon. It's boys being boys, man. It's like, it's not gay. It's boys being boys, bro. You guys don't understand it because you guys didn't play sports, at a high level. Coke Bay says they're superior cuddle buddies. Oh man, it's so funny, man. Oh, it's too bad that he didn't get to go further into that. And it's fortunately, I think none of these college kids know about Myron or the lore of those pictures, which is unfortunate because, man, they could have completely grilled him and he would have had nowhere to run.
I guess I could come into that after.
What's up, bro? I seen some of your podcasts and stuff like that. I haven't watched the full thing, but I really just want to know, like, why do you think women deserve less? Because it's like a controversial.
You know what I noticed? This is a lot with black people, and this is not racist what I'm about to say. I've seen a lot of black people, like young college age men and women, wear rock t-shirts like Metallica, AC/DC, Pantera, and I'm just like, I know you don't listen to this music, so why do you have this t-shirt on? Like in my day, you couldn't wear a shirt of a band that you didn't listen to. You'd be called a poser. Or even if you were like, if you didn't skate and you were wearing like a bunch of like Element or Etnies or any other skating brand or whatever, even like surfwear, like if you wear like a lot of Quicksilver or Roxy or whatever, but you weren't a surfer, you were just you were a poser. You were called a poser. And I see this a lot now, and it's just kind of accepted. Like I saw a woman the other day, she had a Rolling Stones t-shirt on. It didn't say Rolling Stones, it just had the lips on there. And I was like, you like the Rolling Stones? She's like, what is that? And I was like, it's your shirt. You're wearing a Rolling Stone t-shirt. She's like, oh, I just like the design. I was like, man. I was like, I want to call you a poser right now, but I don't. You probably don't even know what that is. But yeah, it just I don't know. It's like you don't even know what that means. Nirvana. People are wearing like Nirvana t-shirts, and I'm like, do you even? I was like, what's your favorite song by Nirvana? And they're like, oh no, I don't know Nirvana. I just like the shirt. God damn, bro, that's crazy. Like I grew up listening to a lot of like rock music and alternative rock, and knowing about the whole grunge scene and stuff. And none of these kids today that are in college wearing these t-shirts, they don't know anything about these bands. They just like, I just like the design of the t-shirt. I'm like, oh, you're a poser. That's what you are.
Obviously, it's gonna catch people's attention.
Sure.
They see it.
Sure. When I say women deserve less, it's for a multitude of different reasons, but I'll just focus on, like, let's say dating for now, right? So guys have this, warped ideology that being a gentleman and being super nice and, being caring makes you more attractive to women. But the reality is, attraction and arousal are two different things. And by being a nice guy, what ends up happening a lot of times is you get stuck in the friend zone. And what I tell guys, and I talk about this in my book, Guys Gotta Give Women Less. If you look at the cover, I have money there, relationships, social media, and time. And the reason for that is because we live in a deregulated sexual marketplace. And what that basically means is, assuming two parties have the age of consent, anyone can hook up. Now, we thought this would be a good idea in the 60s with the explosion of feminism and birth control, et cetera. But what ended up happening was when you leave women to their own devices, they date the best guys that they can get. And that problem's been exacerbated as they become more educated and made more money. So it's left a lot of normal guys out of the realm. So what I tell guys is you need a woman that's going to reciprocate that attention, because we're in a position now where they have all the leverage, and a lot of guys are over here courting and dealing with women that quite frankly don't deserve it. So when I say women deserve less, there's other aspects too, but that's what I mean, as in like dating. Don't simp on women that already get everything given to them.
And has Fresh read that book? Probably not. Even though there's an audio version, he hasn't listened to it because he still continues to run his game the way he does. And that is tricking and simping and, selling the dream, and that's like the main reason why people just don't like Fresh, because of the way he defines his masculinity by the way women view him, through women's approval, whereas Myron defines his masculinity through the way men approve him. So that's the difference between the two of them.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, isn't that just like a generalization though? Because I feel like it's case specific.
Cabos came back. He's like, to be fair, Cap, he's too busy networking. That's true. But he could still have it. He could have the audiobook in the car while he's networking, like while he's driving to the next networking spot. But I see what you mean. Yeah, that's true.
With every person, like when you say that, it's like you matching one archetype of men with another archetype of women, and then you making that the case for everybody.
Well, I think the world operates on generalities, right? There's a reason why.
Yes. Generalities, exceptions to the rule, meaning that you can be a nice guy and get that girl that can appreciate that. You could find that one girl that maybe comes from a religious background who, doesn't have probably has a low body count and is very selective and very picky, and they don't go for the jock. They don't go for the basketball player or football player or cocky guy. They go for the nice guy that seems stable. There are some girls out here that aren't tuned into social media like that. They don't even have a social media presence. They maybe use like Facebook, whatever, and that's about it. But they don't have like an Instagram. They don't have that. And I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it is very popular for girls to have these social media accounts and not use them in the way of dating and trying to connect with other people. They just use it to just keep records of things that they do, and maybe they don't have any followers. Maybe they don't follow anyone, and that's another thing. They could basically just keep their IG private because it's not for anybody. It's for them. It's so that they can keep a record of, their growth. Maybe they're like on a weight loss journey or whatever. And there are girls like that. They use social media, but they keep things private because they want things for themselves. It's very possible that you could find a girl like that. And she could go for a guy that's a nice guy that's not out here just trying to increase his notch count. I have a very specific, situation. I was 6 foot tall all through high school. Actually, I was 6 foot tall through middle school too. But, like being tall, it kind of set me apart from a lot of the guys that were in my grade. So I would say I had an easier time, in terms of dating girls. I also played basketball and stuff. So yeah, I had a little bit of that, but I wasn't, I didn't take advantage of that status that I had. I had friends of all. I had friends. Everybody was my friend. But I do know that there were people that were more. That there were more about. Like, look, I'm not looking for anything serious. I'm just trying to have fun right now. And girls were like that too. And I just tended to know the scoop on people that, okay, yeah, this girl is like the village bicycle. You don't want to mess with her because you might end up getting something, you know? And because everybody had sex ed, everybody went through that. We saw, you know, what could happen if you're just loose with your seed. So, you know, you got to be responsible. You got to take responsibility and you got to play it smart, you know? But then there's these people that just they skip that day at school and they're just trying to hump anything that walks, man. And you see how that ends, man. It always ends with either the girl that they get with, that she gets pregnant and she's got to drop out, and they're you know, they have kids and so there were people that were having kids while I was in high school, and yeah, it's just like I don't know how you juggle that because you know you're still at mom's house, and yeah, it's just not a good look. You know, it's not a good start to your adulthood. So at least I had my head on straight with that. But but yeah, man, like I said, you don't have to be you don't have to like be this whole like, you know, black and white. You know, you got to be disregard, you know, you got to be mean and stuff, and you got to, you know, disregard women and stuff and just focus on, you know, I think it's good. He said, you know, focus on your purpose, you know, take care of yourself. And, you know, if you're successful, women will be a byproduct of that. Yes, absolutely. You know, but you can also make time for women as well. You know, this whole like thing about men and women not being friends, I agree with that to a certain degree because all the girls that I were friends with, I totally would have slept with. But there were some girls that, yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. It's true in a sense because, you know, there are girls that are fat and ugly that, yeah, you're just like, I don't really care how friendly you are. You know, it's like there's no value in us being friends and stuff. And I know that sounds cruel, but it's just how it was, you know, going up through school and stuff. But there were some girls that you knew were off limits because they either had boyfriends and you respected that, and there were some guys in there that did not respect that, you know. And but as far as my own case, you know, I had my circle of friends, and you know, I had my girlfriends and stuff, and nothing was really everything was like nothing was really solid, you know. It was just like, you know, 2 weeks here, you know, couple months here, maybe even a whole year, and then when summertime came, you broke up. So it's like, but I think it's important to have that type of experience, you know, that way you can at least figure out what you like and stuff. Myron basically not having a girlfriend till 35 is crazy. You know, I mean, I understand you want to be driven and stuff like that and focus on your business and stuff. And maybe in his line of work, he didn't have the free time to actually like, you know, develop a relationship with anybody, you know, so that's why he had to have these brief relationships and stuff. But that's crazy to me that 35 is, I mean, like I said, I got married at 33 because I had already had so many relations. I think like 2 5-year relationships, and I had like a bunch of relationships, you know, before that. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like for some people it works. Some people like maybe it's just like, no, I just want to. If you want to be so careful and not make a mistake, you know, you're just like, I'm just gonna wait until I just find the perfect person. You're gonna be waiting forever, bro, because nobody's ever gonna measure up. And I think that's kind of the trap that people fall into. They're like, I just want this perfect person, and nobody ever measures up, or there's too many red flags. And I mean, I've said this before that the only person that is perfect, that's going to be perfect to you, is going to be the person that you accept their flaws. You know, once you begin to accept their flaws, that's when you can, you know, see them as perfect. But it's still good to get experience, in my opinion.
Braille isn't everywhere because there's not that many blind people, right? So, you know, in general, you know, being a nice guy is going to set you back. Now, are there some girls out there that are, you know, will reward you and give you sex and a blowjob for being a nice guy? Sure. But the reality is being a nice guy typically always puts you on your back foot. And I think in today's day and age where women have an enormous amount of leverage in the dating marketplace, guys need to kind of go in there with their eyes wide open so they don't put themselves in a bad situation. So generalizations are typically how the world works. Of course, there's always going to be anomalies. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. But I think in general, men need to operate from a position where they're mitigating risk and not investing too much up front. Because we have way more on the line than women do when we get in relationships.
So you say like sex, do you think that's the end goal of a relationship? Like, where do you view that?
Well, it's the main agency that women have.
What if you don't give them that agency though? If you have like different priorities, generally, like
The man or
yeah,
the woman?
The man.
Okay, what do you mean by that? If you can kind of...
Like, if you don't go into a relationship just expecting to get that out of it, then there's really no leverage there if that's not something you really want out of that person.
Well, a lot of the time that's cope, right? So like guys will sit there and they'll be taking a girl on her seventh date. They've been talking for like 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, and they'll sit there and cope, be like, oh no, like I'm just building something up. But the reality is she's fucking some other guy, right? And the reality is that men need to understand that women, right? They sell purity, they sell sugar and spice and everything nice. But what will happen is they'll open themselves up sexually to the men that they respect and are aroused by, and then make the nice guy wait, right? And they're able to kind of double dip doing that. So I think with guys, they got to basically push for sex fairly quickly in a relationship to ensure that they're not getting used.
And you know what? I mean, that has a shred of truth to it because of the time that we are in right now with social media and how kids are getting on it a lot sooner than when we were like towards the later school years. You know, some people, they didn't even get onto like Facebook or Snapchat or whatever until after they were in their like second year of college, you know, whereas these kids have had it ever since middle school. So it's a very different time in terms of like people reading your rap sheet and, you know, forming their opinion just off of, you know, your photographs and the things that you've done and stuff. Whereas like just going up and introducing yourself and having a conversation, that's almost unheard of, you know, and it doesn't seem like that is the way of doing things now. It's more of just like, hey, can I get your Insta, follow you so I can like message you later and we can. A lot of kids are just like hooking up before they even like know each other. They don't even know the person's like last name. They're like, look, you're hot, I'm hot. Let's link up, you know? And it's instant. It's so quick and it ends just as quickly as it starts.
I think
because that is their main. I mean, just let's be honest here. Like that is their main commodity, their main agency. Like if women didn't have vaginas, we wouldn't care. No one would talk to them.
I wouldn't say that because that's like half the population. You just like dehumanizing half the population with that statement.
I mean, well, it's the reality. We're put on Earth to procreate, correct? So men, our job is to provide resources. Their job is to extract resources, and it's been this way since the beginning of time. The only reason we're able to have this whole, you know, moral situation is because of modernity and the access to technology and how we progressed. But the reality is, you know, in times of when times are not peaceful, we get closer and closer to our traditional gender roles, right? There is no feminism when the lights are off. There is no feminism with war. There is no feminism when it comes to preserving society and moving on forward. So, you know, the reality is that that's why the genders deal with each other. Men provide resources, women provide access to sex.
I'm gonna come back.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, thank you for coming up, though, man. It's brave to do that.
It's crazy to me that he didn't have like anything to say in terms of like, well, you know, he could have even said like, look, I'm dating a girl and, you know, we are taking things slow. You know, she comes from a very, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I mean, he could have just, I mean, whether his situation was what it was, or he had an example in his own life where he could say like, look, you know, I know a girl that, you know, she's really smart. She's really intriguing. We have great conversations and stuff. And, you know, we connect on a deeper level, you know, and we haven't had sex, you know, and I don't know. He probably would have. Myron probably would have launched into like, "Well, are you guys friends?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think we're friends and stuff." And then he would have been like, "Well, do you want to sleep with her?" And he's just like, "Well," no. He's like, "I would, but no, you know, we haven't yet." And he's like, "Well, see, there you go. I mean, are you guys really friends? Because obviously you want to be with her." And I mean, he would have completely went down that line of questioning, and it would have completely invalidated his whole argument that a woman is more than just sex when, you know, yeah, it would have ended the same way as it always does on the show.
So shout out to you. And you when you come back up, say your name. Hi.
Hey, so I really think your ideology is interesting. How do I apply it to my lesbian relationships?
Okay. What is the goal? Is the goal to get married? Is the goal to have a serious long-term boyfriend that will what's the goal?
It's
Boyfriend. He completely like bypassed the whole I'm in a lesbian relationship. Um, that's it just seems like I think Myron. I know Myron is like lesbianism is not real. It's just women trying to seem more attractive to men. I know he has that view. So I know I see why he just kind of disregarded her what she just said or how she set up her whole introduction.
to have a lesbian relationship.
Oh well, you guys are useless to society, so.
She's just like, wait, what? I'm useless. She probably hasn't heard that before. That's pretty funny. Um, she probably thought she had a little bit of worth. She probably thought that she contributed something to this life, but now she just has had her whole world shattered from this guy. That lesbians, they don't contribute anything to society. That's funny.
So should I value her less or more?
Well, I mean, you guys can scissor and talk and have a good time, but you guys don't really provide for society.
Okay, so thank you.
No problem.
Damn. She actually took that kind of well. Like she took that better than what I thought she would. That's crazy. It's like he completely was like, "Yeah, you guys are just having fun right now." It's like until you wise up and find a boyfriend or whatever. Right now, you're just having fun right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not contributing to a nuclear family, you're effectively useless to society, being honest.
Could that be applied to Myron though? Myron with Angie, because he doesn't want to settle down with her. Like he doesn't. What he's saying is that he's waiting. He's waiting until he gets to a certain financial bracket to then maybe think about taking that step. But as of right now, he doesn't want to get married. He doesn't want to have a family. It's not like in his thought process right now. So I'm like, are you waiting for Angie to completely age out, to just trade her up for somebody new, and then maybe then you'll be ready to have kids? Because it just seems like it's not fair to Angie, because Angie's basically wasting all of her good years when she could be, in a family and maybe having kids herself. But she's really clinging to Myron, hoping that he's the bag and she'll get her citizenship off of him and all that stuff.
Also, I don't think lesbianism is real.
There
I
you
think
go.
It's just confusion a lot of the times. Because the reality is, because I've interviewed maybe almost 4,000 girls on my show, and girls that say that they're lesbian or bisexual, I always like to ask them, well, if you had to pick one gender for the rest of your life, who are you going to pick? And 9 out of 10 times it's the men, and the reason why is because men have to provide value in a relationship. Women don't, a lot of the times. Like with us, we have a multifaceted list of things that we have to bring to the table, whether it's being tall, strong, competent, financial resources. Men have to rise to the occasion to be able to get attention from the opposite gender. Women don't. So what ends up happening a lot of the times when there's lesbian or bisexual couples and are dating with women, the bar is low and they don't really provide value to each other. And then when the check comes, they're both looking at each other confused. So, there's a reason why lesbians have some of the highest rates of domestic violence. It just doesn't work.
Lesbian couples are typically like 50-50. It's just an even playing field. You pay this time, I'll pay next time, or we'll just split the bill. And it's like it's almost like a non-issue when it comes to the bill. But there's not this confusion that Myron just said. That's not true. What he's thinking in his head is two straight women being together in a relationship, being how they are with men. If you put two of those together, then yeah, they would be confused, like waiting for the other person to pay because they're used to the man paying. And I think the dynamic is a little different when you have a lesbian relationship.
Hey, I'm back. I got another question.
Sure.
So,
you want to introduce yourself to the people or not?
Oh, my name is Caleb. I'm a civil engineer major.
What's up,
freshman.
Caleb? Welcome.
Yeah.
Where are you from, bro? How old are you?
I'm from Fort Mill, South Carolina. I'm 19.
Okay.
Yeah. So you said like going into a relationship or dating with a woman not expecting sex is like cope. What is?
Yeah,
what
a
is that?
lot of guys tell themselves that when they're in the friend zone. Like a guy will sit there for like 3 or 4 years, talking to this girl, wanting more. He knows he's stuck in the friend zone, but he just kind of sits there and be like, "No, I'm just gonna be a good friend. I'm gonna sit around. Like I'm just gonna be here."
At that point, it's a matter of self-respect, though. Like if you know you're not getting what you want out of a relationship, why not walk away? But if you do want a friendship for that person,
I agree.
Because women do have value outside of just sex.
No,
then, you know,
I agree with you on that. But the problem is that most guys can't identify when they're being friend zoned. Is my point.
it's easy to identify though. If the relationship not going where you want it to go, then you can walk away.
You got to understand that a lot of guys are socially retarded and not able to understand when a woman isn't that into them. I'm sure every woman in here has been hit on by a guy that made her feel uncomfortable, and he just simply didn't get it. And there's a reason for that. Women, you know, the one compliment I will give women is they're socially superior to men. They're able to pick up on things quicker. They're able to read the room better. They're able to assess danger. And the reason for that is because they're the weaker gender physically, right? So since they can't make up for it with strength and brutality, if a dude's a little off, he's like ticking like this, or he's a weirdo, women pick up on that immediately and like, okay, danger zone, let me get out of here. So that's why a lot of guys are kind of idiotic when it comes to this stuff and they can't take the signs.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But is it that women deserve less or men need to know more?
Combination of the two. Men need to understand their value, because that is actually, that's the biggest weapon when it comes to dating and intersexual dynamics, is a lot of guys don't understand how much value they're bringing to the table versus the woman. A lot of the times, men chronically undervalue themselves while women simultaneously overvalue themselves. You know, if you ask an average girl, hey, what kind of guy do you want? They're going to tell you 6 figures, 6 feet, 6-pack, good looking, good with dogs, asshole that could put me in my place, but at the same time is a nice guy. Like, they're looking for the top 1% guy, but the reality is they're very average. So I think men need to understand that not only do you have to, the burden of performance is on you and you have to be attractive, but you also need to understand that you need to be superior to your girl in every way. Because women don't look for equals despite the fact that they say they do. That's a lie.
You got anything to say?
They look for a superior. They don't look for an equal, ever.
I think Kanye said it best. You know, she's not I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she's not looking for a broke N-word.
So by me giving her less, I'm actually giving her what she wants. Surprisingly.
I wouldn't say that's like giving less though. When you say women deserve less, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, they do. And the thing is that you have to make them earn everything. Because when guys come in, they start...
Yeah, okay. This is one thing that I will agree with Myron on, is that you definitely don't want to come in hot and just leave with your wallet and, you know, do all this stuff and go to the max on a girl when you just met her. You know, you want to take things slow, you know, maybe go on that like coffee lunch date or something like that, you know. Don't go fine dining right off, you know, like fine dining needs to be reserved for later in the relationship after you guys have like established a whole rapport. You're like, okay, now I think you've earned it to now we can go somewhere really nice, you know, somewhere that we can have an experience for both of us, you know. I will agree that, you know, you definitely shouldn't lead with your wallet there, you know, because it almost will kind of set you up for failure, because the girl will be like, okay, this guy's trying way too hard, you know, maybe this is his strategy, you know, maybe he does this with all the girls and stuff, and then, you know, you just don't come off as genuine. Whereas if, you know, you really do take the time to get to know someone or whatever, you find out whether they're right for a good fit for you or not, you know, then you can start going out a little bit more and doing a little bit more and stuff like that. But you just can't rush it. And I think that's the one thing I agree, you know, like don't give too much on the first, you know, couple dates and stuff like that. Just be like, you know, just don't seem too thirsty. So, yeah.
Sipping immediately. They start giving her money, time, attention, all this stuff.
Now, when you think about Fresh, man. Fresh does all of this stuff. What he just said, Fresh does, that's his entire approach, you know? And it almost kind of seems like that's how Myron was able to write the book, because all he had to do was just look across the table. He's like, okay, here's what not to do. You know, I can write a whole short book on what not to do just by looking at Fresh. I will say Fresh was probably the inspiration for why women deserve less, you know, because it became so clear because Myron got an example of what not to do in real time, and he was able to just, you know, he was able to put it all together.
She takes that for granted. She doesn't respect it, and if she doesn't respect it, she's not going to respect you.
Okay, let's
and here's the other thing too. Since women have so many options, and this has been exacerbated by social media, by the way. Like, this has always been a problem, but in 2025, with the explosion of social media, it's gotten even worse.
I think social media just made it more toxic, but I'll put that off to the side for a second.
Sure.
Let's do a hypothetical. So let's say a guy, he goes into a date, he already knows what he wants, and so in the scenario that you create, this guy he courts or whatever, they're dating, he's giving her everything that she wants, and she's giving it up to some other guy on the side or whatever.
Yep.
And so
Happens all the time.
the problem is that she values herself more than this guy.
Well, I mean, not really. She's basically using him, right? So another dark secret when it comes to modern dating and women in general, how modern women date, is what they'll do is they'll have men in certain categories. They'll compartmentalize men. So one guy will be saved on her phone as Uber, another guy will be saved as pizza, another guy will be saved as sex, another guy will be saved as simp, another guy will be saved as sugar daddy. And, you know, this is a very dark reality that a lot of guys don't understand. But we've gotten to a point now, thanks to social media and dating apps, etc., where women are able to basically have men in these certain roles where they can benefit them. And what I'm saying is, I don't want you being saved as Uber. That's my thing when I talk to guys.
And so at that point, why is the lesson not how to have self-respect as a man instead of like attacking women?
Well, here's the thing.
I think it is. It is about having self-respect as a man. When he says women deserve less, he's like, basically just don't be a simp, you know, just be this guy that has his head on straight and is not willing to risk it all. You know, I mean, but this is the thing. It is so black and white in his book about being, not being a simp and, not letting the woman run the relationship. You know, like, you have to have it in your frame so that she decides whether she wants to get on your program or not. It's laid out very easily to understand. And I would say it would be useful to some people that just have no direction, or maybe they don't have any strong male figures in their life where they can actually ask for this type of experience, and get that type of guidance. That is kind of the problem of the younger generation, of a lot of young boys. They're growing up without fathers. They don't have that strong male figure in their life to really draw from that type of experience. Kava says, but camp, they're two different people. Yeah, I know. That's true. Two different people, two different paths, and that's why their dynamic works. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. It's like Fresh can't help being the person he is. And it works. It works for the podcast, because I've already stated how it does. And, the book, I honestly think the book came from just how Fresh conducts himself around women. He seeks validation in women. And that's his whole MO, man. That's what it's all about for him. Get in that box.
In order for you to have self-respect, you must give them less.
That's not how self-respect works, though.
No. You
can value yourself, but without tearing someone else down.
Well, you're not tearing her down. You're just mitigating risk and not giving her everything up front. You're making her earn it. See, I find it interesting that women will sit there and have these super high standards, right? And when you make them work for your validation and your attention, that's looked at as misogynistic. But when women do it, it's looked at as having high standards. Do you notice that? Double standard? So in other words,
I've never experienced that personally.
Well, that's you, man. I mean, you might be better with the girls than other guys, but most men struggle in this situation. Yeah. See? Yeah, you got to remember, man, the average guy is struggling. Like, you might be a smooth talker or whatever. I can see that you're an eloquent young man.
Thank you.
But a lot of guys don't have that skill set. So.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of this, like, the dating philosophy in this time is really like spitting game, and it's really technical, but I think a lot of it is just connection. So when you actually look for that in somebody, then you can get rid of everything else.
Yeah,
it doesn't
but
become a
here's the thing,
competition
man.
or a thing of leverage or anything.
Here's the thing you got to remember. Like, when it comes to, like, connection, remember that, like, 90% of guys can't even get the connection in the first place.
It's just a conversation, though.
But you're not going to have the conversation if she doesn't find you attractive up front. So, like, whenever women talk about, like...
Same thing with women, though. Women aren't going to have the conversation with you if you don't find them attractive. So it goes both ways, you know? If you break down everything that Myron's saying on what women want and what, you know, women won't give you a chance if you don't have like your things in order, it's almost the same thing. If a woman doesn't have herself together, men aren't going to give women a shot either. So, I mean, in a way, it's the same, but, you know, not to the extreme of like, you know, a broke girl versus a girl that owns her business and stuff. Which one is more attractive? You know, it's like they could both be attractive. It's just whether a man is willing to be in a situation where he might not be the breadwinner, you know? Some men have like very strong egos where they just will not settle for being second in the relationship. You know, they have to be the one making the most money. They have to be the one that's in control. And if they have a woman that's out earning them, yeah, it makes them feel less than a man. So, that's the situation.
Men that they like or whatever, or like what they're looking for, or the personality traits he's supposed to have, they're talking from the frame of they assume attraction. They assume he's already 6 feet tall and he's good looking or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I don't care. I just want a guy that communicates well. But she's not telling you that he's 6'3" and makes, you know, $50K a month.
Yeah.
She's not telling you that part, right? She's saying she wants a good communicator, but the reality is it's with certain types of men.
I think with those women, with that like archetype of women in particular, they're like really shallow. Like me personally, if I see a woman like that,
that's a lot of women.
It's not though, because I know a lot of women who go off of the way a man carries himself or the way he speaks or the things he believes. It's not just how he looks. And part of it is how he looks.
I'm not saying it's just how he looks. It's a complete package. But what I'm saying is that they want them well-rounded in multiple different things. Typically, the more money and status a woman has, or the hotter she is, the pickier she's going to be. And this is even for average women. Average women are looking for an above-average guy 9 out of 10 times. We got 5s looking for 9s. You know, but then if you ask her, what do you rate yourself 1 to 10, she'll say an 11. 11? Like, what the hell? So, that's the problem.
So, have you like met real life examples of these guys who are trying to talk to women and they're not having any success?
A lot. Coached a lot. Literally thousands of them.
So, and what are they doing wrong?
Well, there's a multitude of reasons, right? It could be that they're socially awkward, they don't have their money on point, they're fat, they don't speak well, they stink. Like, there's many failure points for men to take an L with women. And the thing also that I think that's important is women are pickier now than ever before. So, like, you might have everything in place, but she won't like the color of your socks. Oh, I'm good, you know? So,
and you could be too good looking too. That's another deterrent for a red flag for some women. Women don't want a guy that's too good looking either, you know? So it's like, it's not really everything to be, you know, everything in a woman's eye, because a woman will disqualify you just for that, you know? So it's like you almost, women are very hard to pin down in terms, because every woman's different, you know, every woman has a different standard, you know? And yeah, so being like 6 foot tall, muscular, some girls don't like muscles. You know, so it's, I mean, I think we went through it on a past live stream, you know, that one lady that had all those different requirements and stuff. You know, she didn't want a guy that had a 6-pack. She didn't want a guy that was stronger than her and all this stuff. And it was, I mean, she had some wild requirements, and it just goes to show you that, you know, you can't really box women into like, okay, I'm going to be appealing to every woman. You can't. It's impossible, you know?
girls get turned off very easily now because they have the paradox of choice.
See, I personally can't speak from these generalizations because I'm speaking from my personal experience.
Of course. And it's anecdotal, so you're going to be limited in what you can, understand or know because you're only 19 years old. And trust me, I had that same mindset when I was 19 too. I had this whole, idealism and women are equal to us and everything else like that. But the reality is they're not. If I'm going to be honest, they suck at most things. Men are better than women in almost every regard.
Crazy. I've heard you say that before. Yeah. But I don't really think that's true. And personally, I don't think my viewpoint is idealistic.
You should have said, Myron, you should have said about, even when it comes to blowjobs, even gay dudes got women beat on that. He should have said that in this college thing, but he didn't say it, for obvious reasons. Oh man, it's too bad. Nobody here at this debate knows that he said that. You know, it's unfortunate.
We're literally better than them in everything where we compete. That's why they have to have their own separate leagues.
I think
Yeah, but nobody shows up at WNBA games. The WNBA is literally subsidized by the NBA, right? It's like we like champion mediocrity from females just because we want to be equal, right?
I think we got double standards in gender roles because men and women are good at different things. Not that men are better than this or women suck at this. Like we have different things that we're inclined to.
I mean,
The hecklers, here they come.
yeah, she'll teach you guys how to get cats. That's what she'll teach you guys, how to get cats and get triggered. But the biological reality is men are better than women at most things. Yeah, I mean, hey, you can get on the mic. You get on the mic. She wants to tell you guys about her Siamese cats. We got a Karen in the house. Fantastic. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, yeah, men are better than women in almost every realm of competitive endeavor. It's just the reality, right? And this shows that what they're attracted to as well. Does a woman want a guy that's shorter than her, dumber than her, makes less money than her? No, she's looking for a superior. That's just how it is. It's biology. Now, I know this is like offensive, right, to the left, to point out these biological realities, but women are not attracted to men that they're equal to. They'll sit there and say that, but how they behave is two different things. So, what's up, man? How are you? What's your name?
Hi, how are you? My name is Trey. It's nice to meet you.
How are you, Trey?
So I heard your views on lesbians a moment ago, and I'm just curious how those views transfer to gay men. Do you believe they don't exist as well? Because you did say that lesbian relationships.
Here we go. We got a white gay guy here for Myron to address.
Cannot exist because men are more multifaceted than women. That was your main argument point on lesbianism prior, and I'm just curious how that carries to.
So, what are my thoughts on gay men?
Yeah.
Well, you guys are kind of useless to society too.
Fair, yeah. I am pretty damn useless.
Yeah.
But not because I'm not having kids, just because I'm crazy.
Yeah, from the nuclear family perspective, right? I say that kind of as a joke, but yeah, I mean, I think the backbone of any thriving society is the nuclear family, and if people aren't contributing to that, I think it's problematic for society. So, gay men and lesbian women don't contribute to that, unfortunately. And I don't think gay men should be able to adopt children either. I think that's crazy. I don't think lesbian women should be able to adopt children either. I think kids need to be protected at all costs, and exposing them to sexual degeneracy is a problem, because that's what homosexuality and lesbianism is. I'm a firm believer that, gays and lesbians need to go back in the closet. We don't need that stuff outwardly.
That is a point of view that you are entitled to. Have a nice day.
Fair enough.
No pushback whatsoever. Oh well, yeah. You would think there would be more of a fight for your right and stuff, but these kids, they don't got it, man. They ain't got it.
Thank you for coming up. Yeah, I guys, I know it's scary, but like I said, I'll chat with you guys. You got questions on my worldviews or disagree? I'd be happy to have a conversation with anyone. Okay. Hey, what's up, man? What's your name?
Hey, name's Joshua Williams.
What's up, Josh? How are you?
Decent. How about you?
Good. I like your shirt.
Appreciate it. Wanted to ask you about your main selling point, women deserve less.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit on the first couple chapters of the Bible, Genesis 1 through 5.
Yeah, if you could go through it quick, though, because we don't want to do a Bible study here, man. We got to keep it moving. But, yeah, go ahead.
I personally believe that that the Bible is the center point of all life because it is God's divine word, and that the shirt only Jesus, when you focus on Jesus and you have Jesus centered on everything, not necessarily Jesus first, but Jesus centered, everything is going to change. Your whole life is going to change. Your whole ideology is going to change everything.
I bet Myra didn't think that was that was like the crown of thorns of Jesus. I think he probably thought it was like barbed wire, like what they have on the fences for like the immigration line and stuff like that. That's probably why he probably liked that shirt. It's kind of funny to me that he's like, oh, I like that shirt, but no, you probably just You probably just like the design of it. It probably reminded you of like the border. So
So I want to focus on Jesus' creation, his perfect creation, when he created male and female. When you see all of his other creation, he says that he saw that the day and night he saw good. He saw it well. But when he talks about creation, man and female, he says it is very good. He takes it to another level that humankind, that his creation of man and woman is much different than the rest of his creation, and that they are created in God's image. So, being that they're both created in God's image, both man and female, how do you say that women deserve less when they're both created in God's image?
Well, when I say that, I mean as in the man needs to be the leader, right? And the Bible obviously talks about this too, right? It goes God, man, then woman. My problem is when I say women deserve less, I mean it's vague on purpose, right? Depending on the context that we're talking about here. But in this regard, when it comes to having a family, being married, etc., it means that the man needs to be the leader, right? Now, I think the problem is that a lot of guys go into relationships thinking that their woman is equal to them and they can split the check and all this other stuff. I'm a big proponent of the nuclear family. I don't think women should work. I think men should be bearing that burden. But the problem...
But not every dynamic is like that, right? You got women out here that are out here working because they have to, and by the time you meet them, they're already working and they're already earning, and they maybe even have their own place. So you're already coming into a situation where the woman is already, taking care of herself, and her decision to be with you or not is either an addition to her life, or it's something where it makes her life a little bit easier. But either way, you can't apply that dynamic into where like, oh, I want my woman to stay at home and stuff like that. It's like not every man is at that level to have it to where they can do that. They can command that. So he's really speaking to a smaller percentage of guys that want this dynamic, and you can't necessarily have that dynamic ideally because it all depends on the woman that you meet, and the woman could be, like your perfect 10 in your eyes, but she owns a business. She probably has like her own house, her own life going on, and maybe it's not a compatible thing. So, are you willing to try to make things work, or are you just going to completely X her out because she doesn't have the qualities that you're looking for, in terms of like, she's not willing to get on my program because she already has a program of her own. It's a very limiting type of mindset that Myron has in terms of, being a leader and, not accepting anything less. There has to be give and take and compromise to any relationship, and allowing the woman to have a voice and have an opinion is very conducive to a successful relationship. Where if it's all one-sided, there's always going to be that power struggle that develops, and it just eats away at the person that's in the lesser position. So in a way, it can work for people, for a small percentage of people, but for the mass majority, it's going to be not necessarily 50-50, but it will be more of a give and take. You can take it here, I can take it there. We can handle the things that we can handle, and we can come together and make it work. Whereas it's not like, okay, I'm handling all this, and you just get on my program and you just sit there and be quiet and make sure that I have my clothes, my food, and my peace and stuff. It's like, some women are not going to go for that. Some women are going to have their own agency and want to have a voice. So, Exo Charles says, the thing is that the Bible actually teaches that a wife has to be submissive to their husband and must obey, but of course not in Myron's type of obeying. Yeah, that's the thing. The Bible is very vague and open to interpretation. So, Myron, he looks at it as like, yeah, you basically give me all the passwords to your your social media, you cut off all of your friends that are male, and some of them that are female as well. And, your dreams basically are going to be put on hold, like any aspirations or dreams that you have, just completely, you're on my program now. So you are basically going to assist me at achieving my dreams. And that's basically what it's going to be from here on out. And, whether a woman wants to accept that or not, that is what it is with Myron.
Is that we have this egalitarian mindset where we're telling men to treat their women as equals, and that's just not how it goes. I'm a big proponent. If you have the authority, if you have the responsibility of taking care of her, you should also have the authority over her to tell her what to do.
Okay.
Because let's be honest here, all the Abrahamic religions know that when you leave a woman to their own devices, they fuck up.
Mm-hmm. So now,
same thing with men, though. Men, if you leave a man to his own devices, he could go down a path of obsession, alcoholism. He could become a drug addict, a career criminal. Sometimes it's almost like when you find a woman can balance you out, can settle you down, and really. Some people look at it like, yeah, you're having an edge taken off of you, but at the same time, you're having more of a level head, and you're able to. You're not in that like survival mode anymore when you have a woman by your side. Now you're just in build mode. Now you're just building your life, and you feel like you're in more control, and you're driving your life forward. You actually have a direction because you're moving towards a goal with someone. Whereas, when you're on your own time, bro, it's like it's whatever is whatever, man. And it's like you just take it day by day. You don't know where you're gonna be. But when you have when you have a woman there, it's like you got a little bit of responsibility, accountability. You have, it's a lot more structured in that way. And yeah, man, I actually think that we are not meant to go through this life alone. We just aren't. Whether you have a wife, a girlfriend, a group of friends to fill that void of a relationship, we are not meant to be solo creatures. The world is not set up for that. I think that there's a reason why it's a punishment. There's a reason why solitary confinement is a punishment. I think we are social creatures, and we thrive when we're together. So, but having standards is one thing, but holding everybody to the exact same standard is or saying that everything should be this way. There has to be a little bit of give there. Not everything is black and white, and depending on the circumstances, life paths, where you're at in your life, where your potential girlfriend is in her life, sometimes it just doesn't sync up, and that's something that needs to be taken into consideration.
About Abrahamic religions, we're going to focus on the Old Testament and how the Old Testament is based on the covenant with Moses, and how that the law, the first 5 books of the Bible say that the man is to be the leader, which is shown,
and that's all I'm getting at when I say
which
that.
Which is shown in Romans. Romans says that, and I may be quoting wrong, so forgive me if I am quoting wrong. But
Myron wouldn't know if you're quoting it wrong. Just so you know, he's probably like the least in terms of like being a Muslim. He's not like the best Muslim and stuff. And in terms of like any other religions and stuff, he doesn't know anything in terms of scripture. So should be all right. V Darden says excellent points. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And the thing is, dude, I only speak from my own experience, and it seems like what Myron has said in terms of like, the average guy out here is struggling because it is a different time. It's a different time than when I was a young man, so it just seems like, yeah, man, you guys got to work a lot harder just to get the basics, just to get a woman to be solid. That's like, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, and it shouldn't be like that. It wasn't like that when I was coming up. It just seems like things are a lot more disposable now. you know, and and people are just like women, yeah, they have a lot of choice. Men have a lot of choice too. You know, they don't necessarily have to be with a person. They could just find you know, they just go on a website now, you know, find a person that way. And or not find anybody at all, just stay in their basement. So, yeah, man, it's like it's not not necessarily that people don't want to get married, it's just that people are just lazier now. You know, there's too many conveniences, and everything it can be on demand now. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's all about instant gratification, and one little red flag that a woman will have, or one little red flag that a guy has, you know, and you're done. You know, because a woman is just like, I'll just find somebody better. There's always somebody better.
The New Testament says that the husband, the man, is supposed to love his family and his wife the same way that Jesus loved the church.
Yes, but see, we're kind of at the finish line right now. Before we get to that point, you need to identify the women that are even worthy of being a wife. And because and I
And you know what? You could find a really good woman in church. Um, it's very possible. I mean, that's kind of like, I know it's not like a place where everybody likes to go, you know, because a lot of people here are very secular nowadays. But no, you want to find a woman that's going to be solid, you know, that is, you know, that is probably the closest thing to being a wife. You know, you probably find her in a church. You know, a woman that has core beliefs and, you know, strong beliefs. Yeah, you know, she's definitely going to be family oriented, and you know, she's probably going to be around other women that, you know how to be wives and know how to be in, you know, 40, 50, you know, year relationships, you know. And, I mean, I think that's what every man wants. Every man wants a woman that's going to be solid.
I like what you're saying here, right? Like, again, I believe in a nuclear family, and I think that as a man, it's your job to protect, provide, and provision. But the problem is that most women simply don't deserve that nowadays, right?
Well, here's the thing where I disagree with Myron in terms of like his relationship being open ended. You know, him is basically closed on the woman's side, open on his side. I don't think that that is conducive to a long term or even a nuclear family. You know, it's not possible, right? Because even if one or two of the women that he's with ends up getting pregnant, it's like, what do you do? It's like, do you tell them to have the children, and then you bring children into this type of environment where you're still open on your end and all your wives are closed on their ends and stuff like that? Is that a stable environment for kids to see like other women, you know, coming in and out of the house that aren't their mom? You know, it is that just as bad as like a uh gay relationship or a lesbian relationship? It's like, you know, I think it's almost equally as bad.
A lot of girls are promiscuous, bad habits, don't respect male authority, but they want you to wife them up. And I'm telling guys, don't do that. You got to vet women out in the beginning very hard, because thanks
Yeah,
to
but okay, so his whole argument about women being promiscuous, he's like, look, before you get married, you need to have sex with 50 women. So I don't know. That sounds a little promiscuous to me. Okay. And then maybe I know Myron has said that it doesn't have to be 50 women. If you might get it by the time you hit 20 women, you know, but you just need to get enough experience so that you can know what a good woman is. And I mean, I don't know. I think 50 is saying that is it's definitely to be provocative. That is what it is.
modernity and feminism, what's happened basically is like all the training wheels that society had to keep things in place and keep things in check are gone. We used to have Christianity. We used to have shame. We used to have the church. We used to have strong knit communities. But now that's all out the wayside. So since we have removed these social training wheels, what's ended up happening is we have this deregulated sexual marketplace where a lot of women are just not worthy of being a wife. And I want guys to focus on, like, when you do identify the woman that's worthy of being your wife, then obviously you give her the world. I'm not saying not to give her everything, but she has to earn that. And that's the problem, is that we just think that girls should get things for having a vagina. And I'm here to say, like, no.
So you got a woman that's living at your house, Myron, that does not work, that you give her your card, she basically just, I mean, she might run, I think he has said that that she runs his real estate, so she does provide value in that way. But she basically, yeah, she does that. You know, well, who knows if that's true or not? That's just something that he said here. He has said that here, and so this whole like, oh, don't just give a woman, something for nothing. But I don't know, man. It just seems to me that he has this dynamic where you got a woman that's living at your house. She's not having to pay rent. She's not having to contribute anything like that. Just, she runs your properties. What, she go around and collect rent? Maybe she talks to tenants and stuff, make sure that any issues, whatever. But I don't think she's not running your real estate like, I don't know. I would have to find out more about that and how, because I know he says it during this debate, but he doesn't really go into detail about it.
And I would say to not necessarily add on, but just add on to my point, I say with women that may be deemed as not wife material, I personally feel that that's when you get down on your knees, you pray, and you say, Jesus, help these people. That
Yeah, you can pray for them.
It's just the same way that when Jesus...
Myron's like, I'm not praying for these people, all right? Verse, he's like, I'm not a Jesus man, so I'm not praying for these people. I'm going to kick them out of my house. They can go help themselves.
Died on the cross. He said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, look, you could pray for them, but my thing is, let's be honest here, man. Jesus can't even save a lot of these hoes. What makes you think you're going to do it? So that's the reality.
I just feel like I never want to lose hope on humanity, because once you lose hope in humanity, that's when things start going.
Pray for them, but what I'm saying is
down.
you don't have to invite that to your house to destroy your household. Pray for her, but don't let her. Look, one of the worst things a man can do, and this is going to be taboo, but I'm going to say it. One of the worst things you could do is wife up a whore. So, because wifing up promiscuous women will absolutely destroy your life as a man.
Exo Charles Quebec says one of the reasons why Muslim world collapsed was because successful men had to divide their assets between all of their wives and kids. This caused wealth and businesses to divide and fail. Yeah, that's true, man. It's the equal share. You can't just give one more than the other. And yeah, dude, I think that's a good point. It doesn't really it's not a lasting type of society. It is one that is it's doomed to fail. Whereas this whole Christian society we have here in the West of settling down with one woman, building with that woman, having a family, a stable environment for children, to flourish, with the man and the woman in the house, to offer both of those dynamics and stuff. It's like that right there is just, it's conducive to a successful, at least a successful foundation. You're giving the children a chance. Whereas, if the man is an absentee father because he's going between all these different households or whatever, and he's having to travel, and maybe these houses aren't right next to each other, all in the same neighborhood. Maybe he's got to travel a little bit. It's like that's time away from the children and all those milestones and all of their achievements and just them growing up. He's missing all of that. And I'm just so thankful, man, that I even in the amount of work that I do, that I still get time to see my kids, and I get to see them, walking and talking, growing up into these little people, and they're developing and into, these little adults. It's like, I would not want to have to be in a situation where like I'm away from them for a prolonged period of time where I come back to them. It's like, I almost got to have to like relearn them all over again. I reintroduce myself again because it's been so long. It's just like, that's not fair to the kids, man. And I think that, psychologically that does damage to them over time, because it's like, when you leave children to fend for themselves, two things could happen. They could either have abandonment issues to where they're constantly seeking validation, especially from other men. And then, or, it could be something to where, they become more independent, or they become really cold and really hard because, they had to survive on their own. So it's like, if you were just there, you wouldn't have to deal with any of that. They would have the security of having a strong male figure in their life, someone that they can lean on and get advice from, and have them discipline them too. Give them a little a knowing of what is right and wrong. That's why why men are in general so important to be in the household, because we are the disciplinarians. I don't know if you guys have seen that video of it's like, I think it's a YouTube short, but it's basically like the difference between men and women raising kids and stuff. It will show like a little kid that is like making a mess all on the floor or whatever, and the wife is like really soft with the children. She's like, "Now, Timmy, don't do that, no." And then you like in 2 seconds you hear the guy like, he's like, "Son, what are you doing?" And the son just like straightens up, like starts cleaning up and everything like that. It's because like the kids, for some reason, they know that dad doesn't play. They know that mom, they can probably get away with things with mom because mom is always there and she's always like, going to be coddling them and whatever. But when dad comes home, it's like, we mean business, and there's not going to be any coddling going around. Like, if you're messing up, we're going to hold you accountable and we're going to discipline you if you don't straighten yourself up. And I think from an early age, I think women, little boys and little girls need to have that. Otherwise that's why they're wild. They're constantly seeking validation, constantly seeking attention. And you gotta say, I would honestly stand to say like 90% of these OnlyFans girls, they had an absentee father. They had they had this father that just did not care or just was not around to give them any type of guidance or any type of self-worth. And that's why they feel like they can just, seek validation in others and other men, because they're trying to find their daddy, man. That's what it is.
So my thing is, you could pray for them. Obviously, you wish well upon them, but that doesn't mean you need to invite her into your life where she's in a position where she could utterly destroy you.
Okay.
Especially with the way the family courts are run and the way that child custody works and alimony and everything else like that. Like, guys have to be very cautious and careful with who they marry. And they need to reserve it for the women that are worthy. Because,
I agree with that. What I'm going to do, because I got about 10 minutes left, I'm going to skip ahead and see if I can find a spicier section, because I know that there are some women in here that they kind of give them a little bit more. Let's see if I can find it. I think this one. Here we go. I know this woman gives him a little bit of a... Let me see if this is it. I think this might... Oh, let's see. Okay, this is a good one. Let's listen to this one.
So are your views on women based on data or personal rejection?
Loaded question for that one. That's a good one.
Here we go, the whole you're an incel thing. Okay.
Because on a podcast about 2 months ago, didn't you just say you got your first girlfriend and you're like 30?
Wow, she really thinks that.
35.
It's a known. Number one, I've had a girlfriend now for a few years, not 2 months. And it's an open relationship. I do what I want, and she's closed on her end.
That's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, look at all the people here going crazy. So here's the reality, right? So let me give you guys a biological reality here.
What does this have to do with my question?
Women,
I'm asking if your views come from data or rejection, because someone had to hurt you for the way you feel about women.
Oh, so I have to be hurt to be able to establish and tell the truth.
Well, yes.
That's interesting.
Sorta, kinda. Was it your mom?
No, actually, you know what's funny? It was my mom that warned me about these hoes.
Mm.
Yeah. It was actually my mom.
So you and your mom are birds?
Me and my mom are birds?
Yeah. Bird brains.
All right, interesting. Do you actually have an argument, or do you just want to make ad hominems?
No, I'm just asking questions. You have yet to answer my question.
Well, it sounded more like a statement since we're both birds, right?
Well, are your views based on data or personal rejection?
Yeah, they're based on data, obviously experience, anecdotal, talking with almost 4,000 women now at this point. So, and I think every guy here, right, though they might not admit it, would love to have a setup where they have a girlfriend that loves and admires them and respects them, obeys them, and he could go ahead and get other women and she's closed on her end. And this is what I was trying to say. Once you reach a certain level of status, and
Honestly, it's a woman that doesn't really. She might respect you, but she doesn't love you in the way to where you are only hers. You know, like I think the way that we view women, like we want women all to ourselves. Women are like that too. You know, whether you like it or not. You know, and I think that's what this whole red pill thing is really ignoring, is that women have that same type of feeling that, you know, if she truly loves and respects you, she wants you to love and respect her. She wants you to all to herself. She doesn't want to share, because then that dilutes who you are, because you're basically sharing yourself with other people, and it's just like it's not special. It's not special because, you know, you're not exclusive, where it's like, yeah, but then of course, you know, Myron will always say, we show loyalty in different ways, where I show my loyalty by sharing my resources and protection for you, whereas, you know, you show loyalty through, you know, sexual exclusivity. And it's like, you know, in the real world, women want men all to themselves. They don't want to share. You know, if the man has money and he's giving all of the money to her, and he's not doing that with every other woman, are there some girls that are willing to like deal with that possibly have the daddy issues, that, you know, are just like, look, I just want validation. I don't really care if I have like love or anything like that. I just want someone to love me. You know, like I don't care if it's like true love or whatever, as long as I'm getting a bag, I'll settle for this. You know, because they don't have like the same type of self-worth that like a God-fearing woman would probably have, you know, self-respect. So yeah, I mean, if you find a woman that is willing to share you with other women, she doesn't really mess with you that much. She doesn't really love you to that degree. That a woman that wants you all to herself, that is greedy with you, yeah, it's a completely different dynamic. It's actually something that you're settling for. You're settling for a girl that doesn't really love you that much, that is willing to let you sleep around and stuff like that. That's not really I mean, if you're in that type of situation, it just opens yourself up to like have that in the back of your head, that, you know, maybe when I'm stepping out, maybe she's stepping out too, you know, and you have that guilty conscience, and it's all brought on by yourself because you have this mindset. And, you know, unless you got 24-hour surveillance, you know, on your property where she's staying and stuff, you know, who's to know what she's doing while you're away? So
you have your stuff together, you'd be amazed at what women will tolerate when you're that guy. So I want every guy to be at a point where if you want to be monogamous to your woman, you can, but if you also want to have other women, you can. And that's what I think keeps you attractive, because women only get in line when you have other women in line. Now, I know that... What was that?
He said you're not welcome on campus, prick.
Oh, look at this guy. Nice jorts. Nice jorts.
Hey, I have another question. Do you know who invented Wi-Fi? Like the technology for Wi-Fi?
this is stupid. I've actually, this is really one of the dumbest things that I came across, because, you know what? Let's go ahead. I want to dispel this whole myth. Who invented Wi-Fi? It's not a woman. So let's see. All right, here we go. Here we go. So if you were to just Google search what I just did, the whole who invented Wi-Fi, you're gonna get the first couple popular headlines that say it's gonna be Hetty something. I can't remember the name, whatever the last name, but it's a woman that says Hetty, but she did not develop Wi-Fi. What she did was create where is it? Let's see if I can find it. Vic Hayes. This is the actual inventor of Wi-Fi. But hold on, let me see if I can find it. He was the one that actually was able to like create it, do the patent and all that stuff like that. Let me go back because this is the thing that this woman read. You find it right here. So we're gonna go to Hedy Lamarr, and I'll tell you what she invented. Let's see. She successfully received a patent for the frequency hopping idea. So it wasn't recognized until many years. An updated version was used by Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. So right here, Hedy Lamarr was not only a scientist but also a famous Hollywood actress in the 1930s and 40s. She didn't invent Wi-Fi, but she did work on a concept that ultimately led to Wi-Fi. And then in the next section here, it says Vic Hayes is often called the father of Wi-Fi. He was the head of the committee that introduced the international standard of wireless networking in 1997. So Miss Hedy Lamarr, she is the one that laid the groundwork in terms of allowing radio waves to jump to different like frequencies and stuff like that. But it wasn't until Vic Hayes came around, he was actually the one that was actually able to actually do it. And now, but you know, that's that's one of those things that women don't read too far into. They just see, oh, it was a woman. Here we go. This is something that women have contributed.
Let me guess, a woman?
Well, yeah. So if it wasn't for a woman, your podcast, you wouldn't have one, and it wouldn't have gotten demonetized.
Oh, good.
No, it would have gotten demonetized either way. But the whole Wi-Fi argument, that's just something that you didn't read further into that. You know, if you did, you would have realized that she just laid the groundwork for it, but she didn't actually invent it.
Good one. Yeah, so here's the thing. We do a direct connect on our pod, so
I don't care.
Wi-Fi is, oh, now it's I don't care. Okay, great.
Hello, sir.
Make sure to hit the gym as well.
Sir.
All right, guys. So that was all right. This girl right here, I think you guys have already seen this. She gets a little loud. She doesn't get her voice off in the very first couple seconds because Myron's a little distracted. We'll watch the first couple minutes of that, but then we got to go after this because it's already 3 a.m. and we have already reached our time. So I think, yeah, let's see. Should we watch this girl or should we watch the guy? Because I know there's a guy later that he used to host the Who Hurt You podcast. And I think that's kind of like the main event for this whole thing. Let me see. Where does he come in? Does he come in towards the end? I think he comes in towards the end. Yeah. Maybe he's not even in this video. Let's see. Oh, no, he's right here. Yeah. I don't know. What do you want to listen? You guys want to hear about this girl here, or do you want to hear about the guy? Because I know either one, we probably only have time for one. Watch both. All right, let's watch the first couple minutes of this woman. She struggles to get his attention in the beginning.
Hey, just being honest, man.
Sir.
Yeah, look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Sir,
hey,
if you're here to
the
have
girls
a
aren't gonna fuck you,
conversation,
man.
I'm trying to have one with you.
Like the girls aren't gonna fuck you, bro. White knighting is not gonna do it.
Okay, hi. Would you like to have an actual conversation?
This is fucking awesome. All right, what are you gonna say? Go ahead.
All right, here. I'm here to have an actual like debate with you, okay? I'm not
Sure.
here to antagonize you or villainize you. I want to understand you, and I hope maybe you'd want to understand me. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
She's so mad.
What I want to understand is your viewpoint that women deserve less, or that you think men deserve more?
Well, two things can be true, right?
Okay.
So I think guys need to be in a position where they are the dominant and the leader in the relationship.
So I would like to understand why exactly do you think that? Is it what is causing this? Is it like an instinctual thing? Do you think it's based off biology, psychology?
What in
religion,
particular?
belief? Like the idea that the man should be dominant. What is the backing thought process for this?
Well, it's how society has thrived for centuries. You know, the man is the head of the household. He's a leader. He protects and provisions. And this is how we've been able to build up the society we enjoy now. And it's only with modernity and feminism that women have been able to kind of do the things that they do. But at the end of the day, I would argue most women want a traditional man who's going to be a provider, going to be a protector, and adhere to these traditional masculine traits.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about this, sir, if you don't mind. So
Sure.
Would you say that over time, generally speaking, with how society has come, how culture has come, to where we are at this current point, are you content with how the world is today? With
Yeah, that's literally what I was about to say, is that you might want to have this traditional type of like leader, the man is a leader and the woman is the submissive, but it's unfortunate that times have changed. Okay, women are now going to college, they're making six figures and stuff. They are now in positions to where they are on equal footing with men. So you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Okay, we can't go back in time and make it to where women are more in submissive roles and all that stuff, because women just, they've had to fight for their right for equal rights. So is it kind of futile to have that type of mindset that, oh, it's an ideal. Okay, it's something that we all want. We want to have, we want to be able to be dominant and be able to, lead the house in the way that we want to lead it. But the women that are being brought up, they're being brought up to go to school, to make something of themselves, to have dreams, to not, if they have a man, that's fine, but they can take it or leave it. um it's like, okay, I guess it would be easy to just not go after those women. um But, what happens when the majority of the women in your area are all going to college, or have all had, social media, or all have businesses or aspirations and stuff like that? So it's like you're really fighting for something in a market where the market is completely changed. And now you are now the old man on the block with these views, and all of the children around you are all, progressive. They're all, modern, So it's like, what do you do in that type of situation? Do you conform, with the times and update your Rolodex and maybe approach it a different way? Or do you just drive the point home that, no, this is how I'm going to do things, and if you don't like it, you don't have to take it, and then you miss out on a lot of opportunities because of that. I mean, maybe that is probably the main reason why Myron has, gone this long without having an actual relationship, because he hasn't found someone that, especially in America, that is willing to get on his program in that way. It had to be Angie, someone who is from Venezuela, someone who is, from outside the country. That's how it had to be. Maybe America is not the place where he should be preaching this kind of thing, because it's not gonna be upheld like that. Western society is a modern society, and like I said before, man, women are not going to go silently back into the kitchen. They all have voices and ideas, and unfortunately, things like this are here to stay. You know, and I'm not saying it's hopeless, but it's a little bit of an uphill battle, man. If you want to die on this hill.
society, are you happy with how society has turned out? What exactly, do you have any issues with modern society?
Well, I mean, look, obviously there's pluses and negatives, but I do think that modernity has led to the overall degradation of society, and it's because we don't prioritize the family anymore.
So is the issue less that women deserve less, or that we should put more of a focus on traditionalism within the family?
Well, that's kind of the same thing from before. Again, men need to be in a different position now where they need to be able to vet out women properly for them to be their wives. Because the thing that sucks for guys now is that most women want to be married, but they're not necessarily wife material. Everyone wants to get married, but no one wants to be a wife is basically what I mean. So I think, well, you're a lesbian. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, anyway, so yeah, that's what I think it is. Guys need to really focus on the family, but before they can even do that, they need to be able to go in with their eyes wide open with how society is and how we're playing the dating game. Because we have
See, Myron isn't even focused on a family, though. That's the thing, man. It's like he doesn't want to marry Angie. I think he's just waiting for Angie to age out, and it's kind of weird double speak that Myron has, to where like he has this view of the nuclear family, but he himself is not contributing to that type of ordeal either. So let's skip ahead a little bit and see if I can find. Let's see. Yeah, because We are now almost 10 minutes over. Here we go. All right, let's listen.
So can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men? In a short version, what do you think they should do to be successful with women?
To be successful with women, okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship, just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well,
here?
I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, as Jesus Christ founded it, but I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Now, I remember this guy on the Who Hurt You podcast. That was another Fresh and Fit clone. It did not last. It was one of those podcasts that, you know, as soon as you see the intro and everything, you see that Fresh was in the intro, and he was basically like dapping the guy up, whatever. And then, yeah, it was just like once the show started, you're like, oh, this is just a Fresh and Fit clone, you know? And but it was just him. You know, he was like trying to be like, you know, the Myron without Fresh, and it wasn't long lasting, obviously. And now this guy has turned on Myron and his whole mindset, which, you know, you could add him to the list of people that no longer rock with Fresh and Fit, which is ever growing.
Well, I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say 100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year.
Cabo says, is the podcast still up? I can't find it anywhere. I don't think so. I think the guy deleted the channel, and he deleted all of it. So unless you might find like somebody talking about it, you might find it through that. But as far as the channel itself, it has been deleted.
Savings, be in good shape, have at least 50 partners, right? Sexual body count.
All right, and then is that the last one?
And then there's one more, but that's fine. You could go ahead and
Okay.
engage with what I've said so far.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did. And it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around.
When you say significantly damage your life, I would think, okay, so you have an STD now, something that's incurable. That would be damaging to your life. Or do you have multiple children from multiple women? That would be damaging to your life. How did it damage your life?
I started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved. Now,
Maybe he means emotionally damaged. It emotionally damaged my life, not physically damaged my life.
now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt...
Congratulations, that's good. That's really
good. Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray, because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable. And they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat him? So I think...
I can already tell you where Myron's going to go with this. He's just going to be like, well, I think I equipped you with the knowledge to be able to find your wife because you went through that many women. You were able to discern, you know, a good one from a bad one, you know? And I can already see where this is going.
So a question for you. You said you got out there dating and meeting women and stuff like that. And then you said that it kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
How did it hurt you specifically? Did you like just start... What happened specifically?
Well, I started warring against my own flesh. It's like trying to fill an empty void.
Mm-hmm.
There's a God-shaped...
Okay, emotional damage. not like viral damage, not like parental damage, emotional damage.
vacuum in the heart of every man that can only be filled by God alone. Anything else you try to fill with that's not going to satisfy it.
Sure.
And I tried to do it with sex.
Yeah. So would it be fair? How'd you meet your wife?
We actually had the #1 dating podcast in North and South Carolina called Who Hurt You Podcast.
Okay.
And I'm also friends with Fresh. I know him very well. I texted him before I came here.
Should not be proud of that. You might have caught a lot of Fresh's jump offs. Oh, dude.
I know pretty much everyone on your crew, but I was a heavy follower, and you actually inspired me to start the podcast, and I realized what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that when you went through that experience, you were able to identify characteristics that you probably found as unredeemable and you probably wouldn't want to commit to, right?
In what way?
Well, when you were seeing these women, right, you probably started seeing patterns in how they behave, how they speak, or whatever. Maybe they're not qualified to be a wife. Because the thing is, right?
Well, I don't need that. I have the Bible for that. It tells me what to look for.
Yeah, but the thing is that you were able, and again, you're probably not going to notice it, but when you dated and dealt with all these women, you probably were able to identify characteristics that you were not fond of, or characteristics that would make a woman not a good candidate for a long-term relationship. And I think half the game is figuring out which girls don't qualify for marriage versus which ones that do. And clearly you learned a skill set on how to become attractive and get women, and then you're able to identify the things that you like versus the things that you don't like. And that only comes a lot of times with experience. Now, look, if a guy can go ahead and, find a woman as a virgin and be attractive and be able to understand how to navigate that, that's great in modern times. But the reality is a lot of guys don't. And I mean, even in your success story, you had to go through a lot of bad women to be able to identify your current wife as the one. So failures are good. They're good.
Yeah, failures, excuse me, failures in the sense of socioeconomic or maybe even relationship failures could be good, but there's a difference with what I'm saying. I'm saying that we're warned against our soul. Jesus Christ commands us to marry one woman. That's it.
Sure.
And what you were causing me to do was sin against myself, and that's the point I'm trying to get to. It's immoral.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's
you got to
wrong.
take personal responsibility, bro, because here's the reality.
No, I do, 100%.
Yeah, so
very publicly, I have in front of over
that's why-
40,000 people. I've
yeah,
done that.
Yeah, great. But the point I'm trying to make is I teach guys a skill set, right? If I give you a gun and you shoot yourself in the foot, is that my fault? If I taught you how to properly use it, how to disarm it, disassemble it, how to load the magazine in properly, all that. If I give you the skill set, then you shoot yourself in the foot, right? Is that really my fault? No, I just arm you with the skill set. Then you choose what you want to do with it. Now, obviously,
Well,
you
no,
wanted to
it's
go on
predatory,
you wanted to
because men
go
are
toward
hurting.
a sex escapade, which is, I guess, fine. But the reality is, I armed you with the tools to become an attractive guy, and you utilize that. You can't come back and get mad
No,
and
you
say,
didn't arm
"Oh,
me with that. I became attractive when I followed Jesus. That was it.
oh, okay." Now it's changing the story.
No, I'm not changing any story. It's one thing to be attractive in the sense of gaining sexual partners, but it's a completely different thing to be attractive to someone that wants to marry you and spend their life with you and have kids with you. Those are two completely different sexual attractions. If I walk in here looking like Thor, I'm 6'2" and shredded, obviously I'm going to be attractive to women, but it doesn't mean that that's a relationship that produces value for me and my family.
And again, everyone is different, right? For you, it took some time, and you found God, and you shifted. But the reality is, I gave you the skill set, and then you choose what you want to do. That's up to you, and you made that decision, not me. I just taught you what to do,
exactly.
how to do it.
It's on me 100%. I'm not placing
Okay.
blame on you. But what I'm telling you, from someone
And
that
here's the
listens
other
to
He just said, I'm not placing blame on you, but he did say that you led me astray. So which one is it? Did Myron lead you astray, or are you not placing blame on him and you're taking accountability? It's double speak here.
I'm
Two,
trying
that
to
you
let
gotta
know what
understand.
happens when you speak to people and tell them to do these things.
Here's the other thing, too. Like, now you're operating with 20/20 hindsight. You went through it. You experienced
Correct.
it. You
That's
know.
true.
A lot of guys need to get their hand burned sometimes to figure out how things work. Because, let's
Why?
be honest, men are very stubborn.
Why do
So-
they need to do that? If they find a God-fearing woman, they wouldn't do half the stuff you're talking about.
Well, here's the thing. Finding a God-fearing woman in today's day and age is a lot harder said than done, right?
Not really. You just got to go to church. You go to church, you find one. Not everyone that goes to church is a God-fearing woman. But I would say a good amount, that go to church. You could find one,
I did it,
Yeah, it's a lot harder
and so
said
did
than
everyone
done.
in my whole family. So it's not that hard.
Yeah, that's anecdotal from your perspective. But again,
And it also, it also speaks to the environment that you're in as well. I mean, if you're in South Carolina where these guys are at, you might be able to find a good girl that's God fearing that comes from a small town or whatever like that. Whereas if you're in Miami, where everybody is a thought or has an OnlyFans and is just trying to look for a come up, yeah, you're gonna have a lot harder time finding a wife. I think it all depends on your location where you're at.
skill set, you were able to find a wife, and I'm happy about that. But you got to take a little bit of accountability here and understand that you basically got a loaded gun and shot yourself in the foot, and you're trying
Correct.
to blame me for it.
No, I'm not blaming you. Like I said, I take accountability. There's a big difference there.
Okay.
But look, nothing against you. Like I said, I've hung out with Fresh 8 or 9 times recently. I love him, and I think your heart is in the right place. But I just wanted to give you from someone that actually listened to what you were saying to do, read your book, and it didn't work. That's all I was trying to do for you.
Well, actually, it did. You didn't notice it yet.
Okay.
You're not going to be able to identify your wife and have been able to find her and figure out what characteristics you like and don't like, right, unless you went through that.
My wisdom came from the Bible, not you, but I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, and that's, I mean, I kind of knew Myron was going to say that, was going to say, like, look, I basically gave you the information to do what you want with it. And whether you want to, you know, settle down with one woman, you know, and just make things work, or go run through a whole bunch of women and stuff and just lead like that life of, you know, like just focusing on your purpose, and women are just a product of that, you know, it's like it all ends up falling back on you. So that's what I knew he was going to say. I knew it was going to end up coming back to that. But yeah, that's pretty much all the time I got for this. I do want to appreciate everybody that came out, all the hustlers. V Darden, welcome. Thank you so much for joining the stream. This was a good one. Hopefully I don't know if I'm going to have as much hate on this one as I did on the last one. Maybe I will. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely want to find out more in terms of the Shannon Sharpe situation and how that develops. So we might revisit that again. And other than that, yeah, if you guys are finding me for the first time, my name's Camp Hustle 1. I do commentary videos, and I will see you guys on the next one next week, same time, Saturday at 11:45, and we will talk again. So hope you guys have a good evening. See you guys on the next one. And yeah, this is Camp Hustle 1 out.